All right, Director, I get you to proceed with roll call.
Trustee Buckland.
Present.
Trustee Carter.
Present.
Trustee Garrow.
Present.
Trustee McPherson.
Present.
Trustee McAllister.
Present.
Second Vice Chair McDonald is in the next room. First Vice Chair McMillan.
Present.
Trustee McCray.
Present.
Chair Petersma.
Present.
Trustee Richards. Trustee Swan.
Present.
Student Trustee Sidney Collins.
Present.
All right, and also with us, we have our new student trustee for 2013-2014 school year. Not the new trustee. I don't want to make it sound like we're getting rid of Sydney. But as of August 1st, our new student trustee will be Tyler Harbers, and he's joined us tonight. Welcome, Tyler.
Stand up, Tyler.
Well, all right, trustees, move to the consent agenda items. Are there any, ask for a mover and a seconder? Trustee Buckland, Trustee McMillan. You can go ahead and cast your ballot. I'm in favor. Okay, that passes. Move on to the declarations of conflict of interest. All right, trustees, I need a motion to move into committee of the whole. Trustee Richards, Trustee Karkner. Go ahead and cast your ballot. Yep. All right, that passes. All right, this evening we're very fortunate to have with us Mr. Mills, or the Executive Director of the Upper Canada Leger Centre, and he's here tonight to provide an update on international education and other activities of the Upper Canada Learning Centre. So, Mr. Mills, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair Petersma, Board of Trustees, and senior team. It's my pleasure to stand here as the Executive Director of the Upper Canada Leger Centre for Education and Training, hereafter known as the Leger Centre, to give you an update on the projects and programs that we are involved in and continuing to work on behalf of the Upper Canada District School Board and the communities that we serve. I'm pleased also to have a number of people with us tonight that I will introduce at the end, and you may have some questions for them. I think you'll be very impressed with the work they're doing on behalf of the board and the communities that we serve. I'm going to give you an introduction of the projects and programs that the Upper Canada Leger Centre is involved in, some of the opportunities that we see, some of the challenges, and at the end an opportunity to ask questions, both of myself and the people in the back that are here. The Leger Centre was incorporated as a non-profit organization in May 1999. And in 2003, it was granted charitable status. A few of the programs that I'm going to highlight really can be identified with the charity that's involved with the foundation. The Leger Centre is is a project that is project-based and self-funded. What you see in front of you there is a list of the board of directors, which include Director Thomas, who is the chair, Superintendent David Coombs, the secretary, Rick Gales, Superintendent of Business as treasurer, and Greg Petersma, chair, who's a director. More importantly is the community involvement that we have. Dennis Staples, the mayor of Smiths Falls, who's our representative from Lanark. Connie Vardy, who's the chair of the Cornwall Community Hospital Foundation, and our representative for Stormont Dundas Glengarry. Matt Malt, our community representative from Prescott Russell, who sits on the board of directors also for the Rockland Hockey Academy, which I'll talk about after. And Bagwant Parmar, community representative for Leeds and Grenville, who's very involved in the Brockville community and in the hospitality industry and many other things. I also want to note in the back we have Rennie Bourget, director, who's the assistant treasurer, and Jeff Trasick, who's the principal of TR Leger. So a very dynamic board and who are very involved in the communities. There are 5 projects currently ongoing. First, student nutrition. Second, Beyond 21. Third, language assessment and training. International education. And Ready for Summer, a summer camp program. That's an organizational chart with the board of directors that I report to as the executive director. You see the names there. I'm not going to read them all. Many who are here tonight, and the different programs that we're involved with. Beyond 21 first, I want to acknowledge the vision 3 years ago of Director Thomas, and I want to thank him first for pushing the board for the Leger Centre, as well as the Cornwall community, that it's something that was necessary for students that were finished when they were 21 years old and had no place to go. It was a definite need in the community. You see the mission there to offer a structured, meaningful, inclusive, and community-based environment where dependent adults with developmental disabilities continue to thrive and grow socially, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. And the vision in creating this unique center for adults with developmental disabilities, for participants to wake up every day and have something meaningful to look forward to. We are currently operating Beyond 21 in the General Vanier building. At any one time, we can have 14 or 15 adults. At this time, I also want to acknowledge we have 2 board of directors here, Tish Humphreys and Shannon Savard. And Tish, I also want to publicly thank you for your great work at the ministry level and what you have done for the program, so thank you. Typical client profile for Beyond 21. The young adult would have a developmental disability, no longer able to attend school due to their age. They want to participate in a community-based program and wish to participate in a program that will take into account their needs and interests. The second program I want to highlight is student nutrition. And we know that when students start the day and throughout the day, that they have good nourishment and nutrition, that they learn better. Currently, we have a number of programs across our 8 counties that we serve. You see there Renfrew, Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry, Prescott Russell, and Lanark with the acronyms there. So we employ staff with funding through the Ministry of Community and Social Services, Youth Services. And we have staff in place. Jill Stewart is here, who is our coordinator in Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. We're also work as the flow-through for Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville with Hastings Prince Edward Learning Foundation. We have volunteers, and that's the main thing, that administer the program in the schools to provide healthy food options to students. We have 3 full-time staff that work as coordinators, and that should be something that you will see as the presentation continues, that through the Leger Centre and the different programs, we employ a lot of people in the community, whether it's directly or indirectly. The partnership itself, and I know there are a few trustees who sit on the partnership or the steering committees, that's extremely important. And we assist schools to secure additional healthy food donations and funding and provide guidance on food choices. Language assessment and training is something new that we have ventured into. And by being an arm's length nonprofit, it allows us to provide something for our communities, potentially, and also to generate some revenue on behalf of the Leger Centre. NAV Canada Air Traffic Control Training, you may wonder, what is that? NAV Canada, many of you have been there, if not all of you. The Upper Canada uses that for some of our training and leadership opportunities. NAV Canada engaged the Leger Centre, initially with Carmen Cousineau as the executive director, to provide language training to our traffic controllers who came to study at NAV Canada. Right now, we're just weaning. There are 30 air traffic controllers coming to train from Saudi Arabia. And we will provide the English language training. You may wonder why they need the English language training. ICAO standard. If you travel internationally on any flight, no matter what country you're in, the pilots, the air traffic controllers, indeed the stewardess or stewards, anybody who's working related to the airline industry has to have a certain level of English. And that's what we're going to partner with NAV Canada to provide. We see this as an opportunity, a great opportunity, because NAVCAN wants to train students and continue to receive students. TOEFL and IELTS, those are English language tests that many of our students are required to pass, international students, to get into university or college. And we are investigating that as to providing that training locally, so students don't have to go to Montreal or Ottawa to get their training. The last one is retraining new Canadians. CIC Immigration, Canada Immigration, has tied education to immigration and employment. Currently, CIC has released 24 job profiles where new Canadians can come if they have a job and an employer, that they can come to Canada. But some of them may need English language training. So we're also working with partners there that maybe we can provide within our communities the language training that the individuals need who are coming to Canada. By far our biggest project is international education. I'm going to show you a video. The video is getting a bit dated, and we're just so you know, we are updating it, but it gives you a really good understanding in about 5 minutes of the opportunity that we provide to students when they come to study in Upper Canada.
Welcome to the Upper Canada District School Board. A great place to study, explore, and live for so many reasons. Located in Eastern Ontario, close to the cities of Montreal and our nation's capital, Ottawa, you'll find a region of small, safe communities, never-ending natural beauty, and the mighty St. Lawrence River always close by. Our goal is to provide challenging academic experiences that foster a lifelong passion for learning. Upper Canada students consistently achieve the highest levels in standardized testing in the region. Since 2003, our schools have hosted over 300 students from every corner of the globe. As well, many of our graduates have gone on to pursue a successful post-secondary education in Canada and abroad. The English spoken in our region and in our schools is clear and without a pronounced accent, making it easy to understand and comprehend. Our secondary schools are small and friendly, with an excellent teacher-to-student ratio. Our teachers are highly qualified and experienced. and our classrooms well equipped. Upper Canada offers a variety of programs for international students, including full-time elementary and secondary academic programs by semester, a short-term academic program, and a sports program, full-time English language learner programs, and enhanced English programs. At Upper Canada, we believe the acquisition of skills in language, mathematics, sciences, and the arts is fundamental. We are also accredited to deliver the International Baccalaureate program. This diploma program is a challenging 2-year curriculum, leading to final examinations in grade 12. This qualification is accepted by leading universities around the world. Studies have concluded that learning is enhanced when students are physically fit and active. All of our schools follow that philosophy. When living far away from parents in a foreign country, feeling at home is critical to a student's ability to adjust and succeed. Our international students enjoy the security and the care of living with a Canadian family in a small city setting, offering a true English-Canadian immersion experience. Working with Canada Homestay International, we take great care to match each student with a home that is best suited for them. Every host family is interviewed, screened, and approved prior to a student's placement. Each student has a private bedroom with a suitable study area that includes internet access. Host families provide the support, encouragement, and guidance students need. In fact, many of our homestay parents are teachers. For those parents who prefer to have their children in a boarding school environment, we partner with Fulford Academy. Students there receive room and board and additional academic support as they attend our secondary schools. Your child's academic success is our priority. Our staff continually monitor and review student progress to ensure they have chosen the right courses and are steadily advancing toward their academic goals. There's more to being an international student at Upper Canada than just schoolwork. There's a wonderful community to explore as well. Quality schools and teachers, diversified programming, a caring, nurturing homestay program, a friendly community. Welcome to a great place to learn. Welcome to the Upper Canada District School Board, the ideal destination for a world-class education.
Every time I see that video, it makes me proud of what we do in Upper Canada, and everybody here has contributed to that. So thank you. I want to highlight 2 key reports that also came as attachments to the trustees and are on the board agenda. First, international education, a key driver of Canada's future prosperity. You need to know that international education is the 11th biggest import to Canada. And the Canadian government has put a number of recommendations, which were in the second report you see there, bringing education in Canada to the world. There are currently around 200,000 students studying in Canada, language schools, high schools, private colleges, college and university. The government set a target for over 400,000 by 2020. So it's something that's on the rise, and Canada is the #1 destination requested at this point with agencies abroad for K-12. I'm often asked the question why we would do this. Why are we involved in international education? First, opportunities for international teaching positions and training. We have 3 teachers from the Cornwall area, I'll correct that, it's not staff, that work at one of our partner schools in Suzhou, China. We currently have 2 teachers from Suzhou who are at Kemptville Public School from Suzhou, working, learning the language and observing in classrooms. And the opportunities are great for our staff both to go abroad internationally and for us to become an area where teachers can train. And we are looking at that as an organization. Second, increased understanding of other cultures. Third, student travel internationally, both incoming and outbound. We have a number of students who go abroad to study, but certainly not very many compared to the number of students that are coming to Upper Canada to study, and I'll tell you the numbers shortly. There are opportunities to support board students with additional programs and resources with international education. Director Thomas has talked about world class, and we need to deliver our programs to world programs to be world class. There's definitely a local economic impact. And by far, for me, having seen the education in other countries and what we have to offer to students who come to study with us, Eastern Ontario as a destination of choice. We have high quality communities, excellent schools, a fabulous curriculum, and once we get people here to visit, they want to send students to us. Let's talk about the number of students right now in Upper Canada this year. On the left, it's by country. You will note that China certainly is by far the highest percentage. We also had students from Brazil on a scholarship program this year, 10 students. And a total of 184 full semester students, first and second combined. And right now we have about 160 full-time equivalent students studying in Upper Canada this semester. On the right-hand side, it's by school. You will note the asterisks beside 8 schools. Those schools are what we call hub schools. We provide extra support, ESL sections, an ELL coordinator, and access to after-school programs. The highest being BCI, where 38 international students are studying. This graph will show you the last 3 years, including this year, and what we're projecting for next year. As early as 5 years ago, we had 40 students studying full-time in Upper Canada. 200 is no small feat for a small board. To put that in perspective, we have Ottawa Carleton District School Board to the north, who has 500 full-time students in their high school programs. Counting the Hockey Academy, which I will talk about in a moment, we potentially have projected 250 full-time international students in Upper Canada schools and programs for next year. Our short stay program is what I want to personally thank on behalf of the Léger Centre, the schools, the principals, the staff, the homestays, and the communities. On top of the 184 students, we will welcome approximately 250 students, short term, anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months, who will study in our schools, in our classrooms, live with the local family, get trips, tours to Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and Niagara Falls, not to mention the opportunity of our great communities. It's cultural learning and language immersion for 2 weeks to 3 months. It's a revenue generator to assist us as we market and recruit for students to come to Upper Canada. And we estimate the economic impact of $800 per student in our communities. I mentioned the Rockland Hockey Academy. Matt Malt sits on the board for the Rockland Hockey Academy, also on the Leger Center board. It's a premier hockey boarding institution providing athletes a tailored education provided by Upper Canada. If you haven't been to the facilities, I encourage you to. It's affiliated with Hockey Canada. In fact, the other day we hosted a champions breakfast there, and was extremely well attended, both by the community, by the faculty, and some students from Rockland Hockey Academy and Upper Canada staff. There are 54 international students there from all around the world, including 2 students from New Zealand. Yes, they have hockey in New Zealand. Currently, Randy Stevenson is the headmaster. He's seconded to the Hockey Academy. I want to highlight the economic impact as well. The tuition amount you see there, $11,597, is what we would get from the province for a resident student, a student who resides in our district and comes to an Upper Canada school. If you multiply that by 160 full-time students, you see the revenue generator there. Homestay. I would like to introduce Nelson Williams, one of our relationship managers. We partner with Canada Homestay International, and we have 3 relationship managers, one in Cornwall, one in Brockville, and one in Smiths Falls area, that help us with the placement of students in homes in the community, and also with assisting us with many different things. Nelson and I often either talk on the phone or on Skype or email. And I want to thank Canada Homestay, Nelson, through you, for the great job you've done for us. A student who stays on a homestay at $900 a month, or $9,000, there's the revenue generator there to the community. And then student spending. And when you ask an international student about things they like to do, one of the main things they like to do is shop. Do you have a mall near there? And most of our international students have disposable income, just like many of our students who attend our schools locally, Canadian students. So that's an estimate there. I will tell you that we have done some research at the Leger Center, and in many cases it's more like upwards of 50,000. That's the estimate on an international student that would spend related to tuition, all factored in, indexed. This also highlights some employment opportunities through the Leger Center, both direct and indirect. The executive director, manager, and support staff. We have extra ESL sections in secondary schools that we provide, 2 ESL sections per high school. That's a hub, so that's 16 sections. We have a full-time ELL support staff, QP member, in each of our hub schools. There's a program resource teacher who works in our program department with ESL. And I mentioned the homestay corporate staff. I would also like to add that this does not include the 160 students, what they would, when they're factored into our regular staffing for secondary schools with the divisor. So that could be upwards of around 8 full-time staff there. Not to mention many of the people here, indirectly or directly, that are employed and also volunteering their time in the community with the Leger Center. The slide there talks or illustrates to you what it would be with 300 students, 500 students. And you may think that's a great big pie in the sky goal, but we have the opportunity to certainly develop the international education program. People want to come to Upper Canada to study. As far as our future directions, there's a lot going on in Upper Canada. We're working within communities in Ontario. We see so much opportunity with the Leger Centre, even abroad. We want to create new programs and services, both here, throughout Canada, and abroad, that I'll talk about in a minute. Expand our programs and services, diversify, and sustain the growth that we've had to date. When we talk about expanding and diversifying, the Leger Centre is talking about language training and bridging for NAV Canada, and bridging programs potentially for new Canadians. We are looking at joint partnerships abroad. In Qatar, we're working with a partner who's getting, hopefully going to get a contract. The partner sends 100 students abroad every year in all sectors, including high school. In India, tomorrow morning, both Matt Raby and I, with a local agent, are going to be doing a presentation at 4:30 p.m. India time to the High Commission with educators who are there looking for school partnerships, potentially to come to Canada to study. And in China, we have 3 school partnerships right now. I know Chair Petersma and Second Vice Chair McDonald have visited a few of our partners there, namely Suzhou International Foreign Language School, Zhengzhou High School number 9, which is a public school, and we have Qingdao International Foreign Language School. I would also mention that we have an employee through the Upper Canada Leger Centre that lives in Beijing, that is basically our recruitment office, and one of our recruiters, and lives in Beijing. We really want to explore the school partnerships and facilities abroad and expand on that. And the last point there, we recently received funding from the Eastern Ontario Training, help me Matt. Thank you. We got a grant for $25,000 to hire an intern that's going to assist us with developing our short-term programs and summer programs. And we also see having, for example, an international camp in the summer as a great opportunity, not only to bring students to Upper Canada and teachers, but also for students in Upper Canada to engage. A few challenges. At present, the Ontario government has placed a moratorium on opening ministry schools and programs abroad. That happened in 2005. What that means is that even though we have the partners abroad, we can't deliver credit. We cannot offer credits in any country that can be recognized in Ontario. There are currently 20 schools, K-12, or mostly high school, through the Ontario Ministry of Education that operate abroad. To put that in perspective, in Nova Scotia, there's almost 20. They don't have a moratorium. I often see my friends from British Columbia who continue to be able to open schools abroad. That's one challenge for us, because we are well positioned to do that. Secondly, Ontario is not part of Imagine brand. Imagine Education is federally funded. You may have heard through the recent budget announcement a few months ago that the government federal government is spending $10 million in the next 2 years to promote international education abroad. Ontario K-12 has not signed on to that and is not a part of the Imagine brand, although on a case-by-case basis when we go abroad we certainly are accepted. But it is disappointing for us at times when we go abroad to a fair or to recruit students, and we see the government of Alberta and the government of Nova Scotia, so on, that have a table and are supporting the recruitment efforts, and we're on our own. Homestay capacity for international students in Upper Canada. Our communities are small. We certainly are building our base, but if we're going to get to, for example, 500 students, we have to continue to grow our homestay base and look at some potential options with relation to dormitory. I had the opportunity this afternoon with the board to discuss the programs and projects that we offer. And you can see all sorts of data to support, as well as the great people in the back, that we are we're meeting with success, although we know we have room for improvement, and we certainly have our challenges. But how do you measure success? For us, as an organization at the Léger Centre, it really comes down to the communities we serve, both the young adults that you see at Beyond 21, the students that come to study internationally, and the impact that even has on our students that they get to study with someone shoulder to shoulder from another country. Really, for us, the success is measured by the impact we're having. I want to highlight the last program here, Ready for Summer. And again, I want to thank Director Thomas for his vision on this. A free summer camp for students aged 6 to 12 that gives children a head start really in the fall. The program is meant to help improve retention and build literacy skills while offering activities. In the first year, we had 3 locations, and we ran for 8 weeks. And a partnership through the Léger Centre with the Boys and Girls Club of Cornwall and SDNG. I'd like to introduce Christina Allard, who is the acting executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Cornwall, SDNG, and Caitlin Berglund, who's, you can stand up, Caitlin. She's shy. Who works in our programs to service students. I would like to note that the Boys and Girls Club of Cornwall offers after-school programming in 4 of our sites, and it was a natural partnership. And we also then engaged Boys and Girls Club of Kingston, and as we move forward this summer to offer it in 10 locations, the Boys and Girls Club of Kingston and Cornwall, we will work with those 2 organizations to deliver the programming. The school sites are there along the bottom from last year, and it's to be determined. Over 1,000 students last year in Upper Canada communities had the opportunity to go to summer camp. I would like to play a short video that highlights last summer's program.
I'm the coordinator of the Ready for Summer program we have running out of Maple Grove School here in Lanark. It's a camp that's designed to build students' literacy skills, keep them sharp for September. It's trying to incorporate education, an educational aspect, but also keep kids their summer intact and help them enjoy what most students would be enjoying in their summers off.
They've been really enjoying themselves. We have from the gym to the walk to the Y. We're going to the Museum of Civilization on Thursday. I'm actually volunteering, so that's going to be fun. And so yeah, no, they've really been enjoying it. They've met new friends.
It's great. It's really great. I like it so much. Me too. I think it's pretty cool because it's like you get to do like field trips and arts and crafts and go to the gym and swimming and all sorts of kind of stuff, and I think it's really awesome.
I like it. It's fun. There's a lot of activities. We go to places. You can never be bored. We always have stuff to do.
Summer's been really great. A lot of the kids don't even know they're learning. We play literacy games and math games, and I've seen a lot of them improve throughout the summer. they want to come back. They beg their parents to come back. It's only 2-week sessions, but they'd be here all 8 weeks if they could.
Well, yesterday we went to Cosmic Adventures. For the whole day, we made an awesome class. Like, I think Wednesday or something, we made like ring catchers. Not ring catchers, but sign catchers. Napkins. We get to do art. We made paper. We color signs. Because my favorite thing is to make crafts. And go to the gym and play games. I like the same as my sister.
Today, we had the kids go to Mississippi Valley Conservation, which is just down the road from Maple Grove, and we took some samples for invasive species and did a sign net, and the kids identified different species of fish.
We made paper. We took a bottle of water, and then we put toilet paper in it and shook it really hard. And then we laid it on another piece of paper, and you have to roll it, and then you have to sponge with it. And then the next day it will be like this.
Special in problem-solving skills and social skills, a lot of the activities that we do, like today, this afternoon we designed boats and they're floating them now. It had them working in teams, building their social skills, and we had a lot of them working together to solve problems on how to make the boats more buoyant, how to make their boats move across water, and they knew what the expectations of the activity were, so working together to problem solve.
Brian's usually a pretty shy, kind of quiet little boy, and he's really done really well with the camp. He's come out of his shell and he quite enjoys it. The people are really, really nice. It is at no cost to us, which makes it even easier to kind of, get them into things and get them used to being with other children.
On the other note is we've also run into a few friends that have been dying to get in here and missed it. And they would love to have gone.
I knew a few kids and made new friends.
I really hope there's camp next year. Would definitely put my guy in it again. Did extremely well with it. And it's really nice for us too.
The best camp I went to?
I also wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to Aaron. I told Aaron I wouldn't make him talk or speak or put him on display. However, I want to highlight the opportunities that a student has when they come to Upper Canada to study. Aaron's from Germany. He's in his second year of study at BCI in the IB program. He told me he's really enjoying rugby. He played Canadian football in the fall at BCI. His mother was extremely worried though because his first tournament in rugby, he broke his nose. I said, next time don't tell her. Aaron presently he resides at Fulford Academy, one of our partners. Susan Kendall, the owner of Fulford Academy, also recruits students for us through Kendall Associates. We also have an agent here, Dagmar Schaefer, who's from Germany, who has we've had students come to Upper Canada through her agency. It's just one example of many that I could give to you. But Aaron, we're really happy to have you here as a student. When I'm finished, maybe there might be some senior staff or trustees that would like to speak to you or ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you stay right here with me, okay?
Okay.
That's my contact information. You'll see Skype there. That's the what we use often to communicate, because we're often talking to agents, students, parents, schools abroad. Before I introduce you to staff, I wanted to do 3 small presentations. First, through you, Chair Pisma, on behalf of the trustees, as a nonprofit, I would like to make a small donation to the Champions for Kids Foundation because we exceeded 10 slides.
Yes. That's good. Well, I appreciate that.
So that should improve revenue if you make that a real goal.
Yes. Thank you very much.
10 slides is pretty good. Yes.
Oh, no, that's a precedent.
The second presentation and third presentation are related. When we travel or have agents or partners come to visit us, it is common within international education to give gifts. And you run out of ideas after a while. And we stole an idea. Matt Raby, stand up, Matt. Matt's a manager of programs with UCLC. We started discussing what we should do. And he said, I got a great idea. We have Ottawa, we have Montreal, we have Toronto right nearby. They have professional sports teams. Everybody loves a professional sweater. But really, we're promoting Canada. We don't really want to promote one city over the other. So if we go, we will take shirts from every team, not to offend anyone.
Even the losers.
But Chair Petersma, so I don't know which team you cheer for, but I know one team that you cheer for. And it is our gift of choice to agents and supporters of international education. So if you could come forward, we have a small.
I'm the cute one here.
And it's retro.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much. That's good.
So thank you for your support.
No problem. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
See him on skates.
No, you don't want to see me on skates.
The last presentation is to Director Thomas for your ongoing support of the Leger Center, your vision and conviction for the programs, and also the support for international education. And we do know which team you cheer for.
I guess. Oh, Trophy City. Thank you.
And I think.
Oh.
The Rockets.
At this time, I want to make sure I acknowledge, introduce everybody who's come to support the Leger Center tonight. So, Jennifer Duplain, is our international education coordinator, who's been there was there before Matt, Raby, and I. And Jennifer, thank you for all you've done for the Leger Center. You met Renee. Okay, I don't want to miss anyone. Susan, Dana, Nelson. Did I miss anybody? Who's here tonight? Okay. So I know we've left time for questions and discussion, comments, and would love to hear from you, certainly. And if you have questions of anybody who's with us, we would welcome that as well. So thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your presentation and the rule on the 10 slides. It's an honor system, and I think the fact that you were very forthright in coughing up speaks to your honor. Trustees, any comments or questions? Trustee McAllister.
Thank you, Chair. Tim, if I might, I have a few questions for you. 3 years ago, prior to being elected as a trustee, I certainly did not have the understanding of the Upper Canada Leger Center that I do now. And I may have been quite cynical to a certain extent. Yes, that is true. However, I've read the advisory panel report, and I've also read the Council of Provincial and Territories Ministers of Education and Immigration response, and the impact of international education, both for foreign countries as well as for Canada, is undeniable in terms of a whole host of things, such as, the acquisition of global insight and perspective, attracting top talent, preparing our citizens in a global marketplace, building blocks for the future, etc. So I could go on, but so I'm very impressed with this. Having said that, in spite of the fact that there are compelling arguments for both reports and for the Leger Centre, let me play devil's advocate for a moment. I don't believe this, but I'm going to ask you the question because it is a question that's out there in the community. When we have identified deficiencies in Ontario, for example, in maths and arts and other operational and capital pressures that are budgetary, for example, why are we focusing on the development of international education?
Mr. Mills?
Through you, Chair Petersma. Thank you, Trustee McAllister. First, the opportunity that it provides for our students to have someone from another country that brings their learning, their culture. It provides for our communities, the homestay families, that they can host a student. And those relationships that they build with the host families last, in many cases, a lifetime. Third, we're in declining enrollment, and we do have spots in our school. And we have an opportunity to fill those spots. Fourth, we're providing programs and services through international education, Ready for Summer, Beyond 21, and others. We're providing employment for both teaching staff, support staff, members that are indirectly or directly through the Leger Centre that are here. And I mean, I really honestly haven't seen any drawback to having international students study in our school. I will also add that we've had the opportunity for teachers from Eastern Ontario to go abroad to teach, some who've done an exchange, and others who are working with our partner schools. And right now we're welcoming teachers into our school from our partner schools, and they get the opportunity to share. Our short stay students that have come with chaperones, Mexico, Brazil, Spain. The teachers are extremely impressed with what we have in our schools and have to offer as far as teaching, curriculum, facility, and safety.
Thank you for a very good answer.
Director, do you want to add?
Thank you, Tim. Fabulous response. And you see that you're dealing with the earthy issues every single day. But further to a great question, Trustee McAllister, is the fact that the kids is one thing to have them over here, but we're also in the place where now we can do exchanges of teachers and sharing best practice, and the thought that we perhaps are the only ones in Ontario with the great ideas, and we do have a great educational system, but the idea that we would perhaps learn from our colleagues in other countries about the fine arts of teaching science and math and things that can be done that way are going to be more robust. I think the other thing that's really good about all of this is being done, and in fact it's not costing the board a single cent. In fact, we gain from it because the profit, if there is a big profit, is not much. It gives us the ability to run our summer program, our Ready for Summer program, which our board has advocated as an anti-poverty campaign. So I guess there's many wins for us in this one. But I think with the program alone, rubbing shoulders in the global village now, if you're a young man, this young man we saw here sitting beside my son or your son or grandson, I think we just become a little bit better, and we start to understand the competition isn't with TIS or the competition isn't with Cornwall, the competition is around the world, and it just brings us all to a new level. But thank you for the question, John.
Trustee McAllister?
Obviously, the education sector, through the Upper Canada Learning Centre, is doing what many municipalities are doing right now. And I might say that in my own ward, Eagles Point Winery is a perfect example of the successful attainment of capital in this area. And the plans that they have are enormous. So I guess maybe just one other question with regard to international education. How do you measure what we are delivering?
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Trustee McAllister. And the questions will get easier. I want to first repeat that it's not just about success, the number of students we have here. It's the impact we're having. So how do you measure student impact when they're increasing or improving the culture of a school by having international students? How do you measure when an international student comes to study and plays on the basketball team next to a student from Tagua? Well, I want to highlight a success story. We have a young man from Mexico City who lives on a farm outside of Avonmore, who's the star of the basketball team at Tagua, and wants to come back and has aspirations to go on and further his education in Canada and his playing career. How do you measure that other than telling the story? We also, Aaron's another example that second year in the IB program, when he's completed his studies, he has aspirations to continue his post-secondary in Canada. The last one is, and which has been highlighted both on the slides and discussed, is it's an opportunity for employment in a time when it's difficult to get employment for staff.
Yeah.
And it does generate some revenue, and it's providing us an opportunity to potentially hire 2 staff in the next few weeks to work at NAV Canada through the Leger Centre to deliver English training to air traffic controllers. And if you would have said that to me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that there would be a possibility with that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Trustee McDonald?
Thanks.
Trustee Kirkner?
Through you, Chair. I'm wondering if Aaron would be comfortable answering a question.
Absolutely. Come on up, Aaron.
And the question I would like to ask Aaron is, you've been in our system now for 2 years?
That's my second year.
What's missing? What would you like to see that's not here? It's a toughie, but there must be something that you're missing from home.
The only thing I'm missing is my parents. But like educational wise, there's nothing I can think of right now that's missing. Like I'm really happy about everything here.
Well, we hope you stick around.
I will.
Thank you.
Trustee McRae?
Through you, Chair. The first thing I want to say, Tim, is thank you very much for the presentation you've given.
Welcome.
And thank you for getting that shirt to our chair. I'm a little bit concerned, though. I know that we call him our chair, but on the back of that shirt, it says Gretzky, right?
Yes.
And I just want to let everyone know that I will call you chair, but I will not call you the great one. I just had to add that in there because I saw Wayne Gretzky or Gretzky on the back of it.
Okay, so who else would like to
I'm
speak?
not kidding. I had the, I'm going to say the joy when I was just into my term as trustee to go down to Cornwall and take a tour through a number of the different centers that are in the Cornwall area. I also went to the Hockey Academy, and Daphne Lane took me to a number of the different schools and the programs that were running, and it was really unbelievable and most outstanding. So I wanted to, if any of the other trustees have not been on that tour, to suggest that you take it. Maybe you all had been, but I hadn't been, and I thought it was very interesting. I also wanted to ask a little bit about the REAP-E summer program. What is the criteria for the children that are involved in that program? Or can anybody join it?
Director?
Tim can answer that really well. We have a couple of staff that can answer it there. The only criteria is that you be a person who would like to spend 2 weeks with us, and that you arrive and be one of the first 32. We take students from other boards. We take students, they have to live in the community. There's no transportation as they go through. I would say that 80% of the kids in the program come from the school that we're hosting the site in, but we do have kids coming from the different villages as well.
Okay, so they not necessarily have to have challenges in literacy. Okay. And just one opportunity, how about we have math-y summer camps?
Go ahead.
I could answer that with my friend Christina.
Hi. Each day at Ready for Summer programs includes time in literacy and in math.
Make sure that one's in there.
In fact, I would say, if I may, Chair, the Maple Grove program that you saw, the young man taught some of the best math I've ever seen at a primary level. Ian would have been very proud of him. He did a thing with marshmallows across the gym and velocity and height and gravity that was just amazing. And to watch 3, 4, 5 grade 6 kids engaged in all the measurements and creating devices to fling these things across them was amazing. And it was they were heavily engaged in the activity, and it was fun to watch.
You know, Trustee McCrea, I was thinking that you were going to say that because I'm so young that I probably don't remember Gretzky, and you'd help explain who he was. Trustee McMillan?
It's through you, the great one.
Jeez.
You know, number one, I'm so glad you're here because I've never seen so many wonderful people sitting in the back of our gallery, and if this is who you bring with you every time, you're welcome to speak all the time here. I'm glad that we're focusing some of the attention on the many other things we're doing beyond the international studies, and I'm very proud of the opportunities that we provide all of our youth within our board through those programs, because they're providing wonderful experiences that some of these kids would not get. What I'm going to say, though, on the international stuff, and Lisa, you heard me say this the other night, like so many of our students in Upper Canada, I grew up in a small community and had very little cultural experience, very little understanding of diversity. And I think this program that you were involved in certainly has the economic value, but to me that's not the important thing. The important thing is the fact that it is opening the eyes of the world to us and us to the world. And I think that can never be measured. We live in a country that has one of the best educational systems in the world. We live in a province that has one of the best educational systems in the world. And we are all part of a board that has an incredible educational system. And to be able to let the world know that we are there and our arms are open and that people want to come here proves to me that there is a world beyond my front doorstep that my eyes have been opened up to and the rest of the world has their eyes opened up to. And I think that that is a win-win for everybody, but most importantly, because I noticed on the numbers, there's a large number of students living right here in Brockville, my area. And the high school students that are rubbing shoulders with those kids every day are getting an experience that we could never give them in any other way. So thank you so much for you and everyone at the back of the room, what you do through international studies and what you do for our kids on every other level. Thank you so much.
All right, are there any other, Trustee McAllister?
Just one final question. One of the objectives of the Ministers of Education in Canada was the provision of more opportunities for Canadian students to study abroad. Is that opportunity, are we promoting that kind of opportunity for our students? I know your focus is seemingly to attract students here. Are we doing anything on the reverse side?
Short answer is not to the extent that we should be. And we've had many informal discussions as a board and even today with a few members of the senior team that it would be great if students can go to study abroad or visit abroad on short term. I'm going to ask Matt Raby to talk about a potential opportunity that we're working on with a partner in China.
We're working with our partner school in Zhengzhou to send students to their international education forum that they're hosting in July. So there'll be a week-long forum where they'll be involved in different aspects of learning where the students from all over the world can learn from each other. And what we're working on now is kind of building that program so that there's a little bit of a tourism aspect around it too, so that the students, you know, if they go and they spend this time at the forum in China, they also have the opportunity to see some of the historical sites and some of the wonderful tourist attractions in the area and make the most of that trip. So we're working on that and we're hoping to start promoting that very soon.
Thank you very much.
Director?
John, you asked a second good question, and I thought you were going to have 20 tonight, but maybe we're going to. But John, the piece that I think that I don't think should be lost here, and I don't think it's been lost on the board, is that in 2005, under Minister Kennedy at the time, there was a moratorium placed on expanding our program. So we were allowed to keep working because we were already in the field. But the fact is it should be lifted. It's created, I can't believe the minister in charge of economic development has not demanded to be lifted, because this is an economic engine. In BC, it's bringing in millions and millions of dollars. Plus in BC, as Tim has said, they're building schools with partners in China so that teachers can go across and teach in China. Kids can go across and learn in China and come back in other places. As we're speaking right now, the board in Niagara Falls is building a school. It'll be the Niagara School Board in conjunction with Vietnam, in Vietnam, which will have about 1,200 students that they intend to run as part of their school system. They will place their staff, their principal in the school. They'll be working in partnership there. We already have, with the work of Tim's predecessor and Tim's own very hard work in China right now, I believe we have two different groups who would like us to do a similar type of thing. And John, that would be the beginning of a true deep partnership. That would be in the sense that we would send kids, we'd have kids come back, or staff moving both ways. And as Tim alluded to right now, we have two of their teachers, and we've had principals come and visit and stay with. Two of the teachers are staying on extended visit at Kempville right now. And that's the beginning of a partnership. But I think one of the things the board has to, as you are the politicians, I think we have to demand this moratorium be lifted, and we cannot continue to watch Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and BC have free reign in this area, because they are certainly using it, and it's not a political thing there now, it's economic development. Thanks, Jim.
Are there any other comments or questions from trustees?
Through you, Chair. I have one last thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Our best way to get the message out that we need host families, and indeed we've had students come to us through new Canadians in the community, is for us to tell the story. We have one agent who lives in Cornwall whose children go to our schools from India originally, who's assisting us with recruiting students. We've as recently as yesterday, we met with two ladies from China who live in the Cornwall area who are interested in assisting us to bring students. And again, back to the homestay, we can put all the ads out we want. We can ask, we can go to school councils, but it really is word of mouth. It's the positive experience of hosting an international student. So I would ask you as a board of trustees, through you, Chair Petersma, and the senior team, that when you get the opportunity to talk about it, that you take the information we've given to you tonight, and that you direct them towards the Leger Center, and we will certainly listen. And you never know when timing is going to be the best, and it really is an opportunity. I have a few things here that I will leave for trustees. One is the Beyond 21 brochure, and the other is an information on international education, which includes our new brochure, and also all of the information on a flash drive, which provides our brochure, videos, most of the information related to international education that you've seen today. Our video is also translated into 5 languages, and we have profiles on that. Last thing, you may see something in there though. You have a suggestion that you don't like this picture, or a suggestion for improvement. That's what it's really all about for us. We're not going to do the same thing next year as we did this year. We're always looking for suggestions, so we would certainly welcome that if you want to send me suggestions related to our recruitment and other programs and services that we offer. So thank you very much to everybody for supporting the Leger Center, and thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mills and your team. I appreciate the fact that everybody took their time tonight to come out and make yourself available. And we'll look forward to perhaps getting an update at some point in the future on not 200, but maybe 300 or 350 students going forward. So thank you very much. Trustees, I would like to ask that we move our agenda around a bit to accommodate some members in our gallery. We're due next to discuss the budget update, and I would ask for approval to move the Kemptville Public School investigation ahead of that, so that we do that next. You okay with it? Anybody opposed to that? Okay, well, if no one's opposed, then I'll just make it consensus as we are in Committee of the Whole. So next item will be the Kemptville Public School investigation, and I invite Superintendent of School Effectiveness David Coombs to the microphone to deliver his final report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On March 21st, this past year, 4-year-old Caden Mayer got on his school bus in the morning to take his usual trip to school. In that trip, Caden fell asleep. And when he arrived at the school, he did not disembark with the rest of his classmates. The bus driver did not complete a child check, and Caden remained on that bus for over 3 hours. In addition, the attendants from Caden's class got down to the office later than usual that day, and the office did not make the safe arrival call, which is necessary under our safe arrival procedures. As a result, Caden's mother received a phone call at approximately 1:45 from the bus driver saying that he had Caden and he was delivering him home. Thankfully, Caden got home to his parents not physically injured. However, later that afternoon, Director David Thomas contacted me, and he directed me to prepare a report. And that report would have 2 purposes. The first was to ensure that a full investigation was undertaken so that we knew exactly what happened, how this could possibly happen in our system. And the second was to propose recommendations to ensure that this kind of incident never happened again. So I have done that, and before you is my report with a series of recommendations, and I will talk about each recommendation briefly by way of explanation. I want to begin by saying that indeed there was human error here. Make no mistake. We have procedures in place, bus drivers know that their fundamental responsibility after delivering their children to the school is to check the bus and ensure that no children remain. That is a fundamental understanding and responsibility of all bus drivers. Also, we have procedures in place to ensure that any unexplained absence in a school is handled immediately and a call is quickly made to ascertain where the child is. That procedure has been with us for some time. It is well known throughout our school and our system, and it is understood the necessity of ensuring that those calls are made in a timely fashion. So there was human error. People did not abide by the procedures and protocols. But as Director Thomas said on that day on March 21st, he said, "We will not let this incident slip by without using it as a springboard to get better as a system. We must learn from this. We must ensure that this never happens again." To that end, trustees, I have proposed 6 recommendations, and they're kind of broken into 2 segments. One being of more immediacy, and the rest being something that we should be exploring down the road to improve us systemically. The first recommendation is that all buses that transport Upper Canada District School Board students be equipped with an electronic child check system. Currently, approximately 65% of our buses are currently so equipped. Now, on any given day, we transport, with our consortium, over 21,000 students on over 400 buses. The child check system operates very simply. There is a button at the back of the bus. And once the bus stops and the ignition is turned off, the driver must get up, must walk to the back of the bus, must hit the button, or an alarm will sound. And if the ignition is turned off and that driver exits that bus, the horn will sound externally. You can't leave the bus without completing your child check. That is a systemic change that we should make immediately, and I recommend that every single bus transporting an Upper Canada student as soon as possible, no later than September 1st, be equipped with the child check system. Number 2, we asked the question as we proceeded through these investigation, how might we make that trip even more safer for our children? And we have been exploring with STAO over the past few months the idea of putting video cameras on our buses. And indeed, we do have those in a handful of pilot buses around our system. My recommendation is we continue to move in that direction until all our buses are so equipped with video equipment. Thirdly, one of the things that I discovered in my investigations, I did not just look at the procedures and protocols in Kemptville Public School, but I looked at them in about a dozen other schools around our board. What I found was there is a sincere appreciation of the importance of safe arrival policy, but there was some discrepancy in how it was implemented. Now, by that I don't mean that people weren't taking it seriously. I mean that they use different formats, different ways of checking off that the call had been made, different ways of following up if they couldn't reach the first contact. Now, part of that is to be explained by PPM 123, and if you read that policy and program memorandum, it is rather vague. It does give great leeway to the specific context of a community and a school to determine what organizational structure is best to ensure that those calls are made. But I believe, and in consulting with many principals and other superintendents, I believe that we should standardize that to a greater extent so that it is clearer what our expectations are when it comes to making those safe arrival calls. That is a procedural change. Number 4, we've been working on the new family portal system. This will enable parents to connect with us and to update their contact information in a much more timely manner. This is really critical because a lot of office administrators and principals said to me, you know, it's frustrating when we have, we know that a student is supposed to be in school and we've got a stale number. a cell number which maybe is out of service. Maybe the contact has moved. Maybe the parents have moved and they've changed numbers. And that gives them a lot of anxiety. The family portal system, I think, will be an important part of that as we roll that out in the year 2013-2014. Fifth, that the current practice of school attendance tracking and input methods be investigated to update to a more digital model. It seems interesting that a clipboard with attendance in 2013 not getting down in a timely manner prevents us from making a timely phone call. There are systems in place that do allow for classroom to office attendance checking. My recommendation is that we explore those methods to see if we can implement something system-wide which would make this process much easier. And finally, I think at the board level, operationally, we need to make this a greater priority. A priority for us as a board to ensure that we are checking up on a regular basis, that our schools understand that there is a sacred trust when a student heads to school, that if they are not there when they are supposed to be, that we are doing everything in our power and beyond to ensure that we know where that child is. And I would not say that we have been complacent in that. We know how important that is. But it takes an incident like this for us to look internally to ensure that we have done everything we can to support our schools and our principals in ensuring that these procedures are followed in an adequate and thorough manner. There was, to conclude, there were definitely human error issues here. And I'm not trying to mitigate that. I am saying, however, that had certain systemic things been in place, this incident could not have happened. And personally, I would like to thank Jennifer and Kevin Mayer, Caden's parents, who were extremely cooperative in allowing me to interview them, in allowing me to ask them their opinions, and they are here this evening. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, Kevin and Jennifer would like to make a brief statement, if that's okay with you.
Sure, please.
Mrs. Mayor?
Good evening.
Welcome, in your own time.
Trustees. First off, I would like to thank everybody for their disclosure, their upfront, how they've been upfront and how they've been willing to take on this challenge and admit that they're wrong. I know right off the bat that the chair was interviewed and said right off the bat that it was their fault. It's reassuring to see that. We knew that the situation wasn't going to be put under the rug, and that's the only reason we went to the media, is because we didn't want this to happen to any other family again. Some of the points that we've seen, can you hear me? Yeah?
Thanks, David.
That David's pointed out was the number one point, the first point, the child check. I was actually on a bus on Monday going to the Senators game, and there's a child check on it. And I was sitting in the front seat, and I physically had to see the bus driver stand up before he even put it in drive, go in the back and touch the button. And first thing that went into my head was my boy wouldn't have been locked on a bus freezing for 3 hours if that was installed. So I'm glad to see that that's number one, because that would never have happened. What I'd like to see concerning number two with stale is I spent 72 hours looking for information concerning Arrive Safe. I found 107 and I found 120, 128 or 123, I think it's called. And it's very vague, huge broad strokes, and I couldn't find the responsibilities broken all the way down. I want to know what the bus driver's responsibilities are when it comes to my child safety or children's safety. That should be at my hand, like at my reach right there, and it's not. So I'd like to see that a little more transparent, because if you look for the responsibilities on me and my child, and I don't know how I can hold a 5-year-old responsible. for safety on the bus. Concerning the electronic tracking, the U.S. Department of Education has suggested that RFI tracking on all the schools be implemented before, I think, 2018. I think it's a great idea. I've looked into it for the past 2 weeks. It's cheap. And if I'm entrusting you, not necessarily you, the school with the safety of my treasure, so the least you can do is spend $3 a unit on their safety. And that would get them tracked from my doorstep to my doorstep. And I want to know that where they are that whole time. And that's pretty much it. But I would really like to thank David for his work. I am an analyst during the day, and when I seen what he was able to do, I'd step back and let him go, because he made me and my wife feel very confident. He was very forthcoming with the information, told us every step of the way what he was doing, what we should expect. And it makes you feel a lot better. And when my boy looked at me and said, Daddy, I cried until tears came out my eyes, crying for Mommy. You know, I was really angry. But he made us feel a lot better. So thank you very much, sir.
Just one thing I'd like to note, as I was home, I'm a child care provider at home. Having the call been made from the bus driver to my house, had the number been right and updated in the system as it had previously been changed in February, that call would have been received, but unfortunately, because the system is not in place to allow that number to be automatically updated throughout, when I make the call to the office, it doesn't automatically get updated to the school bus. It doesn't automatically get updated to the paper copies that people carry with them. So just first and foremost, I guess that would be really helpful and beneficial in the future to have that system available, that we know that any numbers that we have are immediately contacted when that number is correct. So that was something I wanted to make note of, just having that occur in the past week. Noticed that our number was not updated correctly. And as well, also knowing that these safety procedures are being followed in a procedural way, knowing that there's a standardization, is just so much rest assuring to believe that the safety arrival can be in place and followed correctly by everybody that's given the protocols. So we believe that the recommendations that have been made are beneficial, and we believe that they can make a change, that this doesn't occur to any other parent or child again. So we appreciate the investigation, and we appreciate the recommendations, and we appreciate your time.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time to come out tonight. That showed a lot of character, and we were all shocked that day that the system broke down, and I'll never forget finding out and what I felt having 2 5-year-olds in our one of our public schools, and so I'm really sorry that you had to go through this, but I'm really pleased that we were able to respond in a way that I think will make our system far more effective. And I think that the big takeaway for us is that we need to really beef up the way that we check on all our policies, because it's not just this one. We that's our job, and to ensure that they're effective. So, going forward, that'll definitely become part of the way we do business. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Just in way of closing, I would like to state, Mr. Chair, through you, that this is not the end. This is really just the end of the beginning, and that we will be anxious to continue to work towards improving safety for all our kids, both on their way to school and when they're at school. I take any questions now.
Trustees? Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. I think there are some improvements that we can make to make sure.
For you, Chair?
Yeah, I'll come to you in a second, Trustee Swan.
There are obviously some things that we can do to make improvements to ensure that something like this doesn't occur. However, anytime there's a human involvement, there is an opportunity for error. So I think we need to make sure that it is foolproof completely. And if there are constraints in the way, then I hope that there's information that's brought back to us as a Board of Trustees that we can make those decisions to support and remove those constraints. I think that the other situation or the question I would have is how do we ensure that things are occurring as they should in schools on a regular basis, rather than having the only indicator being when we get a call. So I guess I'm looking for feedback from you and then perhaps a suggestion that I might be able to offer as well.
Go ahead, Superintendent Coombs.
Through you, Mr. Chair. One of the feedback that I received from principals when they were talking about this, as I was discussing this with them, was that that the potential for human error is always there, and that you can't necessarily, human error is often an error of a system. It is a failure of a system, and that you know, many of our schools, all of our schools were directed to review their safe arrival procedures immediately after this happened. You know, our suggestions here, number one is protocol, but number two, it's going to be oversight. Oversight of the principal and oversight of the superintendents of the principals. And that's when and number 6 basically talks about the organizational structure of our oversight.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. My suggestion then is we have a process whereby we have school audits that are performed, and I would encourage us to ensure that that is part of the school audit moving forward, so that we ensure those policies and procedures are being adhered to, just as we ensure other policies and procedures are being adhered to. And whether we need to do that through that internal audit process or whether we need to use the audit committee to ensure that, because I think that we need to have those systems in place on a spot check type basis, that we have that kind of quality check at the end to make sure that we are doing things as we expect.
Thank you, I agree.
Trustee McCray.
Through you, Chair. I believe when this the first discussions about this incident came up, I recommended or made a suggestion. In fact, I think I directed it to Superintendent Patterson. Would there be an audit? I noticed that we're saying, for example, that all buses that transport our students will be equipped with the electronic child check system by September the 1st, 2013. And that's fair enough, but I'm concerned about the time between now and September the 1st, 2013. And that's why I feel that on a daily basis, we should be auditing our schools so that we ensure that, you know, things are going to go the way that they should until we get these systems in place. You know, maybe that's part of the plan, because later on you do talk about the current practices of school attendance and tracking and those types of things. But on our buses, that's what I'm concerned about between now and September the 1st, until we get those processes in, or those that equipment in place.
Yes. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's an excellent point. I would like to point out that immediately after this, STAO held a conference call with all 34 operators. There are 34 independent operators that transport our kids around Eastern Ontario, emphasizing immediate child check protocol review with all bus drivers, and that bus companies were already moving towards installing the child check system. In fact, Valley Bus Line, of which Caden travels on, is currently, they have installed the child check system on all their buses. So this is happening very rapidly even as we speak. And we have also sent out a directive to all our principals to review this as well. So that's a very good point. We're not standing still and waiting for September 1st. We're moving very, very rapidly in this direction.
And if I may ask one
Trustee
other
McRae.
question, through you, Chair. I notice in some areas of attendance, what they're doing now is thumbprints, where you actually, you go into, like for attendance and that type of thing, where you, and they're not that expensive actually. You could have them even in classrooms, where they thumbprint, and then that will actually send a red flag that will tell you who is not in attendance in the classroom. Have you looked into that, or has there been any investigation into that?
Certainly, yes. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes. The nature of this report is I wasn't going to go into detail, but yes, if you actually just do a simple Google search on attendance procedures or attendance, there are any number of really interesting and effective ways of doing this. I would not be at a position at this time to make a suggestion of which we should go to, but certainly I think we should be investigating.
Trustee Swan.
Through you, Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank the mayors for their cooperation, patience, understanding, and their suggestions in regards to this investigation. And I also want to thank Superintendent David Coombs on his comprehensive investigation and recommendations. One thing that came to my attention was talking to parents about not phoning in their child's absences. And I think this really brought to light the importance of phoning in absences. And I'm wondering if we could have some kind of procedure looked at to be put in place also for that, perhaps a central database where you know your child has a dentist or doctor's appointment, or you're going on a trip, that an email could be sent, not necessarily to the administrative assistant or who's ever responsible for the attendance, but if that person is away that day, somebody might not be accessing that information. And I'm wondering, has this been looked at through you, Superintendent Coombs?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, actually, part of the investigation, we started looking at how that information gets to the office administrator, and it can be quite convoluted in some cases. So there could be emails coming in, there could be text messages coming in, there are messages left on voicemails. Sometimes parents simply forget that their child has a dental appointment that day and they forgot to call. And I am, quite frankly, one of those people that has done that before. I think one of the things that we want to investigate is how to communicate with our parents. And I was hesitant to, that is part of this process. I was hesitant to put anything in there saying parents just need to do a better job at telling us when their kids are going to be absent. And I know that's not what you were getting at, Trustee Swan, but certainly, you know, we want to make it easier for parents to communicate with us. I think there is nothing that beats the voice-to-voice call, the person-to-person contact, and we're going to be looking at all those different ways of communicating over the next few weeks and months as we continue our investigation into these procedures.
And actually, through you, Chair,
Go ahead, Trustee Swan.
I would like to say thank you, Superintendent Coombs. And I was getting at parents need to do a better job, including myself as a parent. And after seeing what happened to the mayors, and I have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, I, as a parent, wasn't doing a good enough job making the school aware of my child's absence. And I think this is a real wake-up call to us all as parents, as trustees, and as a school board as a whole. And I just want to thank everyone in their cooperation and suggestions. I hope we see a lot of this implemented. I've heard from bus drivers who agree on the child safety switch at the back of the bus, as well as my own children think having video cameras is a great idea. And I think a lot of bus drivers support that too. So I think we're moving forward here. We dropped the ball, definitely, and I hope we can pick it up again and ensure this never happens to another child.
Trustee McMillan.
Through you, Chair. I just, basically I'm saying this to the parents. I know that after you finished speaking and the chair asked if there were questions or comments, there was a kind of a silence. And I don't want you to interpret that all of us are sitting here going, wow, we're glad that's finished, because that's by no means what I want you to take away. Each and every one of us at this table are deeply concerned about what happened. All of us at some point in our lives have had children, young children. Thank God some of them have grown up on us. But we are parents as well. We take the safety of every child that comes through the doors of our schools very seriously. Every one of us at the table, whether we speak or not, are deeply concerned. We thank you for the way you have conducted yourself in this. As a board, I'm very proud that we were open and that we did not try to point fingers. We took the responsibility, and we are much better for it. And we will continue to have the safety of your children and all of our children as the number one concern. Always will be. So I just want you to know that. Our silence, don't misinterpret that, please.
Trustee McAllister?
A question for Superintendent Coombs. Superintendent Coombs, this was obviously a most unfortunate incident. We all recognize that. In order to maintain and restore public confidence in our board, is there a communication plan for a public notice of the steps taken by our board to rectify our policy and operational shortcomings in this regard?
Superintendent Coombs?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Indeed, tonight is I guess would you say the launching of that effort. Certainly our recommendations going forward are going to be publicized. We will be issuing a media release, I believe, Terry, to the effect, and we will be following up on our progress as we move towards these recommendations, both short-term and long-term. So I would agree with you 100%. I think that we cannot communicate this too much, that A, we made a mistake, B, we did a thorough investigation, and C, we are going to ensure it never happens again.
Okay, Trustee McPherson?
Just like to make a comment, and most people at this table know that I am a school bus driver in my other life. I've driven a bus for 37 years. And when I started driving bus, we didn't even have power steering. Today, buses are equipped, most of them, with child check systems. Mine is not. I'm a veteran driver, and it is ingrained within my daily procedure to go back and check that bus every time I discharge a load. And I would like to think that my feelings reflect the majority of drivers out there. It's unfortunate, and I support every one of these recommendations. We learn by our mistakes, and it's my hope that it will not happen again. And I want to thank parents, I want to thank Mr. Coombs for bringing forth this report.
Okay, any other comments? David?
Yes, thank you. And David, on behalf of the senior team and your boss, I'd like to thank you the way that you've handled this and conducted yourself. I told you to take your gloves off and go deep and that turn every single rock over. And I thank you for that. And I think your work is obvious. It's out here. These are recommendations not just for our board, they're recommendations for Ontario. I think that they should be taken that way, and that this severe lesson that we learned, it will help all of us to become better at dealing with our kids. I also want to thank Mom. You may remember my phone call to you right away, and I said, we've made a mistake here. We have really hurt you and your family, and we're responsible. And you may remember in that call, I said, don't blame anybody else but me. And that's why my next thing was to pick the phone up and talk to David. And I said, David, do it all. And so I say with the passion, parent to parent, as we talked on the phone, we're human, as Trustee McDonald said, and we're hoping that our look into how we do business, that will be even better. But as the chair of the board said, this is always a reminder to be vigilant with all of our policies. And this has been a wake-up call for all of us. And we thank you for your leadership, not letting it go away, saying, yes, we're going to test this, Mr. Thomas. We want to see what's going to be done. And I hope you feel that we've listened. I hope you feel that your son is safer. And I hope you feel that all the kids in our board are safer because you chose to say, no, I want you to really take a hard look at this. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So, trustees, I think that what we should do here is ensure that we get a follow-up. Superintendent Coombs, you want to give us a sense of when would be a good time to receive? I would think sometime either late September, early October.
Yes, I think in September we'd be ready to give you a report. Absolutely.
Okay. Our trustees comment. Trustee McAllister.
It seems to me that September is a little bit late because we want these steps to be in place by the beginning of the school year.
I guess I was thinking that we would be at that point checking in to see that they've been implemented.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
Thank you.
Trustee Karkner?
So from what you have said, we'll be looking at that policy and the procedures sooner as opposed to later?
The whole policy? Like the policy, what I was talking about?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna come to that.
Okay.
That's second motion, or I think we're gonna do that as a motion.
Okay.
Okay? So, is everybody comfortable with that? We would have it come back, probably second meeting in September? Okay. I think that the recommendations are taken on board. You don't need us to, you don't want us to, you don't need to require us to pass that or to endorse those. You're acting on them, and that's our intent, is that you act on them. And then I think, trustees, secondly, we need to address the second piece, and that's the policy. And I think that maybe it's time that the first step would be in striking a trustee committee, a policy committee. We've wavered on it. Do we have it? We've gone away from it. But I think that this has just demonstrated to us that this is one of our jobs. 169 outlines the fact that one of our jobs is to ensure that our policies are effective and monitored. And I'm wondering whether that's the best route or whether somebody else has a different suggestion. Trustee McDonald?
I understand and I hear what you're saying as far as having a policy committee, but a policy committee is not going to ensure that policies are adhered to.
No.
It will ensure that we are in compliance with regulations and ensure that we are doing what we are required to do from an operational standpoint of a school board. What we need to do is have the checks and balances in place, whether through audit processing or whatever it may be, and my suggestion earlier was an audit process, to ensure that what we have established as policies are being adhered to.
Okay.
The procedures we don't own, the policy, the procedures are put in place. But we need to have a report at some point, someone to do the investigation to ensure that policies are adhered to, and then what actions are being taken if policies are not.
Okay, I probably should have prefaced what I wanted the committee to do, because that's really what I had anticipated, that the direction to this would not be the policy committee from the old. This would be a policy committee to establish methods to ensure that the policies are effective and being monitored. And just because I think we can do it at the board, we can hand it over to administration, but I think it's our job to ensure that it's done. We have about 200 policies. I think we need to go through them, and I think perhaps it might be more effective for us to do that in a committee rather than at the board table. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I think there's going to be administrative involvement, but I think that as trustees, we should take the lead on it, work with administration, report back to board on for each policy. How are we measuring this? How are we monitoring this? That was the thinking. You okay with that? Trustee McCray?
No, through you, Chair, I think you pretty well fleshed it out. I was going to say something similar to that. Our responsibility is to set the policy. the procedure itself is the responsibility of administration, correct? And then, of course, the staff are to follow through. So somewhere between the policy and, not even maybe somewhere between the procedure and following through with it, that seems to be where we had a challenge. So I might suggest, just as to add to what you have recommended, Chair, through that committee, that primary, first and foremost, they look at, in terms of our policy, looking at the ones that are at most risk, policies that involve students at risk, and then go from there. Because how many policies did you say we had?
I was just guessing.
200
Must be a
or
couple
something?
hundred. Maybe 100. I don't know, but they're
A little under 200.
But I think that but I think that the other piece is that I don't see this as the committee isn't going to do the work of monitoring. It'll be a short-term job to sit down, establish the monitoring, and then it needs to come back to us. I mean, those reports need to end up on our desk, whether we deliberate them at every board meeting. I don't think that's necessary, but we have to have the information to ensure that. Go ahead.
I think, well, maybe it's a little out there, but we have an audit committee, and the audit committee, when we generally think of audit, we think of financial aspects, but the audit committee's role is to ensure that the school board is operating within the parameters that are laid out before them, and also to mitigate any risks from a liability standard out there. And I think perhaps the audit committee has an opportunity to ensure that we establish some of those framework or parameters as to how we would measure those types of things, and then provide the information back. I'm not sure that delving into 200 policies is going to get us very far. I think we need to act swiftly and quickly to ensure that there are some things put in place to measure, more importantly right now, student safety. And get
I hear
that
what you're
report
saying.
back.
I hear what you're saying. So you're suggesting that the audit committee takes that on. All right. I think, anybody opposed to that? So why don't we change the motion to ask the audit committee to provide us with an implementation plan to add the monitoring of high-risk policies or to their mandate. Sir, go ahead. Trustee McPherson?
I feel we're losing our focus here talking procedure. A few minutes ago, we had a report about a child left in a school bus that wasn't reported. When I look up this policy and procedure, it dates from the year 2000. Why do we not deal with upgrading that? Like, we've got 13 years of improved technology, and already they're talking about more efficient electronic means of student attendance. Why do we not deal with that policy first and bring it up to date? Because that's the one that, I'm sorry if the rest of you don't get it, but that's the one that is glaringly out of date.
I agree.
Well, I think that the recommendations, that's part of, if the policy is wanting and doesn't give the direction to the procedures, then I agree. But the procedures are going to deal with what you're talking about. The issue that I think that we wanted to get to was the other policies, because there are other policies that affect student safety or the way that we operate that I defy anybody here to say they can guarantee to any member of the public that it is being adhered to or that we have any way of monitoring it. Trustee McPherson?
To refresh your memory, 2 years ago, I began reviewing these policies as an ad hoc committee. I got probably halfway through them. There's a lot. There's over 200. Yet nobody ever asked for a status on that report. And it disappeared into oblivion. And I quit working on it because nobody asked me about it.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about policy review here. I think we're talking about something different, though. Like, I think we're talking
Maybe I'm
about.
driven technical.
Anybody want to add anything to this? Trustee McCrae?
Through you, Chair. I think I think we have a plan in place. I think, you know, in terms of we're going to review policy, my understanding is we're going to review policies, this one being the first one, and then looking at other policies that are high risk or involve the safety of our students. And then from there, let's decide who's going to do this. Let's make a decision. Is the group in agreements with using the audit committee, or do we want to develop a new committee specifically to zoom in on this task?
Go ahead, Director.
First of all, the reason why we're staggered here is because we care so much. The reason why we're moving around here is there's not a single person in here who's not touched by this issue, and we care. But I think perhaps your discussion, and may I reshape it and perhaps look at something that David may want to consider, because I think Trustee McDonald has something that's perhaps a gem here, is that if number 7 in the recommendation is that to ensure compliance with the policy, that there be regular auditing of all appropriate policies. I think if that's number 7 here, we just hit a home run with this review. And I think that the thoughtful over-review that you guys have done here has just made this better. And so I'm just thinking to myself, because I'm here busy working in my mind saying, how are we going to implement this properly and procedurally? I do believe it's I think it's audit related. I think it's performance audit related. And I think it's the type of thing that when our teams go into audit the school, you might pick 2 or 3 policies to say, let's take a look at where they are in these 2 or 3 policies. One may be your lunch hour policies of cleaning your desks and so forth with peanuts.
Yeah.
Another one might be the fact that we're going to take a look at the busing and what's happening at busing, and we'll have 2 of the superintendents examine entry and exit of the school, and that becomes a part of the regular audit of the school. I think that this discussion just made our audits better and our schools safer. So I dare say I think this may be very interesting to proceduralize this, as saying recommendation number 7 would be, and David, I think this is a friendly amendment to your really good work, is that that there be audit procedures related to policies to ensure that there's compliance in our schools. So I'm just putting it up there.
Okay. But I think that, you know, I don't think it hurts for us to establish a motion. It's not, I don't know how comfortable I am with the board changing a report. The report is the report. Yeah. You know, like, I think that that's a little dangerous. So here's what I've got scribbled down. The committee of the whole requested the audit committee establish a plan to monitor high-risk policies and report to the committee of the whole in, give us a timeline.
We have a meeting established for the first week of June right now.
So 6 months? 3 months?
Well,
2 months?
I would say in the fall. Yeah, 6 months would
6
give
months?
us to December, so I would say October, if not sooner.
No later than 6 months. No later than 6 months. Okay. So let's just be clear, this is not a policy review process. This is something else, and we can deal with the policy review a different way. Trustee Buckland? You want to?
Yes, I'm happy that the report is coming, and I'm not clear how we're going to assure that the audit has been done. We're assuming the audit's going to be done, and the audit committee now is going to propose something more effective if they discover a discrepancy or some kind of fail-safe.
I think the instruction that we were considering giving the audit committee is to establish the review, so that it'll be, I think where the way that we're going is that they will be in charge of saying, okay, we'd like to see a review of policy 107, and that they will be charged with looking at that. And if they discover that there is an issue, as they do with any other area that they look at, that they would report that back to board. That's the, I think. I think that's a useful thing for that committee to do.
Compared to what?
Yeah, exactly. All right, any other comments or questions? Do I have somebody that will move it? Trustee McMillan, Trustee McDonald, any other further comments or questions? All right, call for the vote there, and I'm in favor. Okay, Trustee Swan.
I just really like to see it done in no later than 4 months because the school year starts in September.
Just so that we're clear, Trustee Swan, this is less about this particular policy and more about all of our policies, focusing in on the higher risk ones. So I just want to make sure that this one, we are going to have the report come back to us on the implementation of the 6 recommendations that are in the report. That was the first thing we dealt with. This one is looking more broadly at additional policies in the board.
I guess it's just coming up under Kemptville Public School investigation, and that's why I questioned it.
Yeah, that's fine. So, Trustee Swan, are you in favor, or? Okay, that passes. We have 1 abstention. Trustee McPherson. Everybody else is in favor, so that passes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, David, again. Thank you, David Thomas, for your leadership, and parents and everybody else who has been part of this. And this is not the end. This is a continuation of our work to make sure that we're better. All right, trustees, we'll now move on to what was our second item, and that is the budget update. Sorry? That's a good suggestion, Trustee McDonald. Trustee McDonald is suggesting that we take a recess for 5 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes. That's probably more realistic. So is anybody opposed to that? All right, so we'll see everybody back here at 10 to 9. Okay. Thank you for that. Call the meeting back to order. Proceed now with our budget update, and just by way of introduction, trustees, as you're aware that we have been working with administration, Director Thomas and Superintendent of Business Gales to establish a budget process that allows us to fulfill our mandate of fiduciary oversight and stewardship. And we've been evolving the report over the years to better allow us to meet that as we understood what questions we needed to ask and became better at asking them. This year we provide a new format. I think the simplest way to express it is that we wanted to see a lot less of Rick and a lot more of the people who actually were in charge of the budget items. This is not a slight to Mr. Gales, who has a long history of making presentations to the board. But as a group of trustees, it was our opinion that we'd like to hear from the people who actually own the budget items. So over the next 4 meetings, we will have all the major budget holders present to the board and provide us with an opportunity to gain a comfort level and ensure that we are acting as good stewards. So tonight we have business administration, human resources, IT administration and student support and facilities. The next meeting on May 8th we'll have teacher for learning student engagement, teacher for learning school operations, and teacher for learning school operations alternative and continuing education. On the May 22nd meeting, we will have teacher for learning programs, teacher for learning teacher support services, school-generated funds. And on the 5th, we will have a report from trustee budget, director's office, and then we will have the 5th and the 19th to work on final summary and compliance issues. So this is a different approach. As we go through it, make notes on its effectiveness, how we might improve it, and provide that back through to myself and Director Thomas, so that we can continue to ensure that this process better meets our needs in communicating to our constituents that we are in fact doing the job that they sent us to do. We've always been excellent at demonstrating compliance, and that and that has always been a strength. We've been a strength of our board. We've had that commented on many times through our audit process, the formal audit process, and this is a way of taking the process to a new level. So, Mr. Gales, with that introduction, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Chair Petersma. And before I start, I'd just like to thank the senior team who worked around the instructions from Management Council in developing a new approach, a different approach that focused less on numbers and focused more on activities, what was being accomplished, what targets were being set. And I'd also like to thank Nancy, who participated throughout the process and is a key member of how we drive this forward. So thank you to everyone. I'm going to start with business administration, and as you know, there'll be others that follow me. And I think that the key here is that the budget for the board is, with capital and whatnot, around $376 million, and that's a huge amount of taxpayers' money. And so the business administration really focuses on operations, but is driven by controls, compliance, and risk management. And we've just had a long conversation about risk management a moment ago on the bus. And so when we talk about the operating context and we talk about risk management, and I'm going to assume that you've had an opportunity to review this, there are a whole lot of factors about risk management that start with the physical risks and move to sort of the softer risks, if you like, the compliance, the competitive forces, obsolescence, planning, environmental regulations, economic, and some you have some influence over, and some, such as economic and political forces, you have absolutely no or very, very little influence over. In terms of key strategies dealing with risk management, obviously planning plays a huge role in what you do. Awareness, insurance, being flexible, being able to move. You showed some of that this evening when you dealt a few moments ago with ability to adjust and deal with issues. Audits are a key piece. Processes, audits, and people's energy, contingencies, and it's going to depend on staff wellness, cross training, professional development is huge. And you need to provide people with the tools and the leadership to be involved. Audit is a key strategy, and there's 3 levels of audit around here. And you have to remember that audit is a after-the-fact activity. So KPMG audit the previous year's financial statements, so they'll come in and audit this year, whereas the internal audit level 1 from the ministry will audit processes internal to the board, and we have our own audit system where we send Tracy and team out to look at activities, and she responds to Management Council. In terms of the org chart, you can see the connection to transportation and audit. And audit really responds to Management Council and to the audit committee, and but operationally, some of the operational details are dealt with in business admin. We also have purchasing, finance, health, safety, and risk management. And connected with this is community outreach. And you can see those other departments there. In terms of the key activities, that are going on this year, and you've had an opportunity to take a look at where we're going with some of the things this year, and we're sort of 2/3 of the way through. There's another third of the year to continue on. And you can see that most of these activities are dealing with continuous growth and continuous development. It's ongoing. We're finding new ways to do things in an improved fashion. So electronic fund transfers, for example, changes that occur that are driven by outside forces, such as the creation of the Transportation Consortium. So all of these activities are ongoing and are projects that we work on. And one of the issues that we're dealing with is the Business Improvement Management Program, which we had to back off a little bit and dig a little deeper because we didn't have solutions that we were happy with. And that's going to be going on for another year as we try to work through issues around that. Other issues that are that are driven by outsides are new reporting requirements for teachers, retired teachers, any retired teacher that is working for the board, and there's new reporting requirements around that. So there are a lot of different things. Job action support in terms of minimizing the clawback, Bill 115 implementation, and something that should be very simple became not not so simple when grids were imposed not halfway through the school year, but halfway less a day. So 96 versus 98, not 97, 97. Something that should be obvious isn't. And then, of course, you've got school audits and whatnot. So these are all projects that are ongoing in 12-13 in terms of finance and audit, and also other projects that we're working on with other departments such as human resources, purchasing, facilities, and purchasing works exclusively, not exclusively, but heavily with purchasing, and has prepared 104 formal tenders. It's 2 a week over the last year. A vast majority of those through facilities because of requirements by the ministry to formalize processes. 5,000 purchase orders, millions of dollars in terms of other activities related to the board, and works with purchasing co-ops on energy and other activities, and all of these are ongoing and included in the summary. As well, you've got the health and safety and risk management activity, and right now we're identifying and going forward with identifying where are we with a whole bunch of issues around tech shops, around science labs, fume hoods. What are the risks we're now facing, and what level of work are we going to have to do to bring those up to standard? We're also working on implementing the automatic external defibrillator process and putting those in the schools there where they have been funded. In terms of community outreach, this is a ministry-funded program. It's going to be extended to all schools within the next month or so, and people will be booking their use of schools online. That will be completed. We'll be able to have more accurate data more easily in terms of various things that schools are using. We still can't get the font very big, eh? This is the budget for all of the areas in the business admin area. And one of the instructions we asked for was a decrease of 3% on everything but salaries and benefits. So all of the non-salary and benefit amounts were decreased by 3%, with the noted exceptions of risk management, health and safety. And the reason for that is because there is a perceived risk we have to analyze, and we have to take a look at what we're doing there. The ministry provided extra funding, and That's as a result of an accident in Ottawa, in a shop, and we're going through a large process of establishing what are the risks there, and you will see in the projects as we go forward that we are defining more specifically the areas we're going to be taking a look at in the shops and in the technology areas. On slide 14, we have the projects that we are going to be working on in 13-14, the Business Information Management System program. We're going to continue to convert vendors to electronic fund transfer. We're going to eliminate timesheets for secondary casuals and make those electronic. Post Bill 115 implementation, the changes that are required there, we're not certain of yet, and Charlotte will address those. Employee future benefits. One of the last presentations we'll be doing in June will be a compliance issue dealing with employee future benefits and explaining the risks to the board on that issue. We're going to improve our issuing of T4s. We're going to continue to develop audit programs and make sure that our student counts are accurate and that the delivery of programs are according to ministry guidelines. And a lot of work, we're going to expand our work around student counts and make sure that that's accurately done. We're working on a report 2 weeks from now for the board in terms of cafeteria and the guidelines or the direction set by the board for school cafeterias. We'll be working with facilities on the planning around developing and building 2 new elementary schools. In terms of safety awareness, we're going to be developing training for the promotion of technology and science safety among staff. We're developing a Tech Pass program to make sure that safety is documented in our classrooms. We're going to be assessing and revising any equipment guidelines and any piece of equipment in tech shops. There is legislated safety training that has to be brought forward, and we're going to be refining our community use and outreach program. And those are the projects at this point that have been provided for in this business admin budget.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Trustees, any comments or questions? Trustee McAllister?
If we go back to slide 11. You said that I just don't understand that, so I'm asking you, Rick. You said that non-salary budget was decreased by 3% to reflect declining enrollment, but yet I don't see that in the total. There's an additional $476,000 in the 2013-14 proposed budget.
Okay, as you will see that the health, safety, and risk management budget has been increased by $317,000, and that's to deal with all of the tech issues that we spoke of, and there is a government grant for about $174,000 of that. But that's our estimate at this point of what will be required to heighten the work that has to go into assessing and repairing gymnasiums, tech labs, chemistry labs, science lab throughout the board.
Thank you.
And the other part is mobile communications device for next year have been centralized, and the money for that has been taken out of other areas and brought forward to pay for that. So all of those Apple phones.
Trustee Karkner?
This is a question for you, Chair. Perhaps you can answer it. Communications is one of the most important areas of our board, as well as the program and so on. And as I look through these 3 presentations, the only reference to communications I see is on what's on slide 11 by Mr. Gales. Is communication going to be part of every report that we get, or is there one coming from communications?
The communication report, communication department right now is under the director's office and will be part of the presentation by the director.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. Mr. Gales, the 317,000 increase, is this only for personnel, or does that include any remedial action that may be required?
That does include a position. It also includes contracted services to pay for, evaluate and pay for changes or improvements, new equipment, that kind of thing. And it's an estimate of what will be required. It may be right and it may not be right. We don't know yet. We're over the next 3 months, we will have, we've engaged companies to take a look at our tech shops, all of the equipment, our gymnasiums, our science labs, and provide an assessment of any risks that may be there, including fume hoods. And one of the areas we haven't had an opportunity to take a look at is dust collectors, and that's something that's on the agenda down the road, but it's not, we're not ready there yet.
Trustee McDonald?
The requirements that are put forward by Ministry of Labor, I mean, is it that technical in all aspects? Or would we have an opportunity for teachers or other staff to be, as part of their regular duties, report on these particular items?
I'm not certain I understand exactly what your question is.
Okay, well, let me explain. You're indicating that 317,000 is part of that is to have one person and some contracted services come in and inspect our tech shops, our labs, and other facilities. Our tech shops and our science labs have teachers in them. And if we demonstrate what the requirements are for safe handling, storage, those kinds of things, could it not be part of their job to ensure that those things are done in accordance to what's required in the Ministry of Labor? Or do we have to have an outside person do that? That's specifically a learning area. And then if it's other specialized facilities, would we have other staff in a particular building that would be trained in that might be able to comment, report, track as required by the Ministry of Labor?
Let me clarify. The inspection process will occur this year. So it will occur over the next few months. In fact, we signed a contract last week for that to occur. The process after that will be, to develop a standard so that staff can administer their own work around students, but also to assist staff in inspecting and making sure that that they're comfortable that the equipment meets the standards that they have to work with. Some of this, for example, is very specialized. The teacher may know how to use a welding torch, but is the teacher comfortable with saying that that welding torch doesn't need to be inspected or should be inspected, or is there a problem with it? They do get a lot of use, and so expertise, outside expertise, is considered by the shop teachers that we're working with to be a valuable check on assuring that the equipment is safe for them, for the staff, and for students. And this is done in conjunction with the Occupational Health and Safety Committee, which is made up of representatives from all of the various groups throughout the board, QP, OSSTF, ETFO, and does have a number of shop teachers on the committee. So it's not being done in a vacuum or without the support of staff.
Any other comments? Trustee McCrae?
Through you, Chair. Rick, can you comment on, it's on slide 11 again, student safety project. It goes from 174,000 to down to 99. A
The-
substantial difference. Can you comment on that?
That is part of the government funding, and the first part of that is for inspection, and then we'll the rest of repairs is in the line above it with an increase of 317,000.
Okay, so the two are coming.
The two of them need to go together.
Okay.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
Mr. Gales, the conversion of vendors to the electronic fund transfer, are we having to pay to ensure that our vendors have access to this? Or is this a requirement in order for them to do business with us?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to ask Ms. Barkley. Is it a requirement? Did you have a question?
I'd have to double check. If we pay, it's very minimal in our contract. It's definitely less expensive than cutting the checks, mailing the envelopes, buying the envelopes. And the main thing we're trying to prevent is being susceptible to fraud.
Nancy, can you come to the mic, please?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I can repeat what she's saying. One of the reasons is the cost of cutting checks, issuing checks, mailing checks, the labor involved with that because of the multiple steps that are involved, multiple people, but also the risk of fraud that occurs by physically mailing something. We have to be on guard at all times when we're mailing checks, particularly around Christmas. They seem to disappear from Post Canada, and then they're cashed, generally altered, and so reconciliations occur very quickly around, because they know that people don't reconcile around Christmas. There is a huge risk of fraud in checks, so getting rid of those is...
Well, I understand the concept of the fund transfer.
Trustee McDonald, go ahead.
Thank you. I understand the concept of it and I support it. I guess my concern is if the project is requiring funds, board district funds to support it, of our vendors, I have some difficulty of that. I would think that if we have vendors that are doing business with us, it should become a requirement for them to do business with us, and then if they don't have it, then, unfortunately, I don't want to pay to improve someone else's business, I guess is where I'm coming from.
Yeah, the difficulty with that is that it would harm small businesses and be advantageous to large organizations and
But is it fair for us to pay?
I'm not certain there is a cost to it. It would probably be, if there is, it's less than the cost we're incurring by producing manual checks.
Any other comments? Superintendent Gales, when was the last time that we reviewed the value that we get from our financial system? We're a PeopleSoft company, I understand that, and it seems to be so heavy, and I'm wondering if we've ever looked, if there is an opportunity, maybe there isn't, maybe we're locked into that, if there's an opportunity for us to maybe explore other options that may be a little bit more user-friendly and not require so much upkeep.
On slide 14, you will see the top project, the first project, is the Business Information Management Program. That's exactly what you're talking about. That's an assessment of our work with PeopleSoft. And we had to back down, not back down, we had to take a look at that project and go a little deeper because we weren't satisfied with the outcomes we were getting. And so this assessment, that's a good word for it, is something that we're going to be doing over the next number of months. And it is a very big project, and the question is valid and has to be asked, and we're asking it.
Which project, sorry, was that? Was that the Business Improvement Management Program?
Yes, BIMP for an acronym.
Now, at one time you had started an internal review of the way that you were I don't know whether it was a way that you were serving the organization, but one part of it was the way that you were constructing reports, and
That's that project. It became quite large.
so this is rolled up in there.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Trustee McDonald?
Just to follow up on BIMP, what you're doing is you're assessing your needs for reporting tools, but you're not looking to change the ERP system that we have.
That's question hasn't been asked or answered yet. We're assessing what our needs are, what the value of what we're getting is, and taking a look at should we go forward, should we go in a different direction, do we need to build onto this? All of those questions are open for discussion. What value are we getting? What do we want to do in the longer term? And those questions have to be asked and answered, and they haven't been answered yet. We are in the process of developing those questions. We've interviewed every user of PeopleSoft in the board, in this office, several outside of this office. We have developed a new code of accounts. We are going to be looking at reporting tools. We are going to be asking outside expertise, are we using this tool correctly? We have a lot of questions and a lot of information.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
Well, this could be very costly. I mean, any ERP system that I am aware of can become a beast. And in order to have things adjusted, anybody will do it, but at a certain cost.
That's exactly the problem. We're at a point where anything we do is going to be expensive. So we need to take a very, very serious and very close look at what we're going to do before we do it, and do a lot of planning around it. And you're absolutely right. We've invested 13 years, well, not quite 13 years, but pretty near 13 years in PeopleSoft. A lot of resources, a lot of training, and there is a ton of data into it. And so the question is, do we continue? What do we need to put into it to make it work properly to our satisfaction? Do we go in a different direction? Do we supplement what we're doing? We don't have the answers to those questions yet. So if you want to ask those questions, that's great, but I can't answer them because we don't know the answer yet.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding what you're trying to answer. Are you trying to answer what else can it do for us? Or are you trying to answer, can it do what I need it to do?
Well, both of those. Because there are certain things that we need as we evolve that we're not getting. We need to decide how to manage this product properly if we're going to go ahead and continue to use it. And so there are a number of different questions.
So the project that you're talking about then is a project that you're going to do to determine what those questions are.
Well, we're more or less, we'll have those questions in this year, and then the question of answering them as we move forward, but I don't know what the answers are yet.
So I guess my next question then is your solution to look at an outside source to be able to help you answer those questions?
Some of it maybe, but the question about, are we using this tool properly? Is there a different reporting tool that would supplement this? So we're not happy with the report, we're not happy with the output, and there are a series of other issues around the product, and we have to determine, is it a fault of our own, or is it just not the right piece of equipment for us, not a piece of software for us?
Just before you go ahead, what is the cost of operating, maintaining, buying the updates of PeopleSoft? Do you have any idea? Like, is it 100,000, 200,000, 500,000?
I think the product is around 275,000 a year. Do you want to start adding people costs to that, like human resource costs? What is the output you get? What's the cost benefit? Those are part of the issues. Developing a business case around where we go from here, and it's very complicated. It's complex, and it will involve IT, HR, and finance as we go forward to answer those questions.
So are you, Trustee McDonald, are you asking whether it might be beneficial to ask an external person to expedite the review? Is that what you're suggesting? No?
I'm concerned if we go outside because it's gonna get very costly. I'm suggesting that we may wanna look at hiring a developer on our staff, or at least on a contract basis, because as soon as you start to hire a consultant to look at any ERP system, I have faith that we can put some tight restraints around project management and keep them in check, but certainly those costs just explode as soon as they become engaged. If we're having that much difficulty, I mean, obviously there's some things that I would have hoped that we would have done at implementation rather than 13 years or 10 years after the fact. But if there are some things that we're going to need on a regular basis, perhaps it's beneficial to look at having people internally qualified to be able to support the needs of our software system that we bought. Because in order, as much as it's $275,000 on an annual maintenance aspect, in order to procure a new system to do what this is doing, I'm going to guesstimate that it's going to be 10 times that.
It may well be, and that's why we need to ask and answer the questions before we do anything. So we're just trying to, we're information gathering, we're looking, we're examining. We don't have the solutions at this point. And that's what the project is about, is to get those answers.
Okay. All right, thank you. Trustee McCray?
Through you, Chair. Just one last question I have. On slide 15, school cafeterias, I realize the forecast, under forecast, you've got ongoing. Do we, continue cafeteria planning and development? Where are we with that? Like in terms of
At the next board meeting, you're going to be getting a report from administration on cafeterias, and then the board can determine where it's going to, what we're going to do at that point.
Okay. All right. Trustee Buckland?
Yes.
Just as a note, and I'm going to pick on you, Trustee McCray, just because we have to be really mindful that we stay focused on sort of questions around the budget. I know that you're going to be prompted to think about questions like that to follow up, and I just ask that you hang on to those because we have only it's just a timing issue. So
I just would like to comment on your comment there, and that is that asking questions about the cafeteria, that could cost us a lot of money. So I do see that related to the budget.
yeah, okay. I guess I was asking. I guess it was because we have sort of an ongoing reporting practice on that. That's fine. I understand what you're saying. Perhaps I'm not reading it right, Trustee McCray. Regardless of that, let's.
I realize it.
Yeah, and we do want to get through the other two reports tonight. So, Trustee Swan, do you have any questions? You still with us, Trustee Swan? Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gales, for your presentation.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
You're okay, Trustee Swan? I don't know. Okay. All right, thanks. Next up, Charlotte, Superintendent Patterson.
Good evening, Chair and trustees. It's my pleasure to provide you with a brief overview of the work of the Human Resources Department, the key achievements and future projects. Our goal is to serve employees effectively so that they in turn can serve students. In addition to supporting contract, temporary, and occasional employees, we also serve as the public face of the organization through interactions with prospective employees, government agencies, financial institutions, legal firms, and unions. Our HR Service Center manages all HR inquiries and transactions. Service areas include Self-Serve and Insight, where employees can access personal and relevant information, Ask HR, a single point of contact by telephone or email for all employees, the Operations Center, which is staffed by our HR officers. They manage recruitment and hiring, staffing processes, benefits administration, qualifications, compensation, employee records, and leaves and attendance. Our Centers of Excellence are responsible for HR program design and implementation, and this includes labor relations, disability management, compensation and benefits, performance management, classification, human resources information system, which we've just been talking about, and analytics. Our HR partners provide strategic advice and support to Upper Canada leaders. They broker HR services for those leaders, and they facilitate the resolution of complex cases and coordinate training to support supervisors in the management of employees. 2012-13 key achievements. Successful completion of projects enhances the operational and strategic work of the department and supports a culture of continuous improvement throughout the system. Ask HR is a single point of contact for external inquiries and prospective and current employees. Phase 2 is completed now. We have enhanced scripts, and we've built the capacity of the first responders to address many of our inquiries and thereby reduce the number of escalations that are required. We've just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. And our data demonstrates that we've been able to respond effectively to both telephone calls averaging about 3,000 a year and email inquiries averaging about 10,000 a year. We're in the 2nd year of implementation of our HR partner role, and feedback from principals and managers indicates that this role is particularly beneficial for new leaders and those who are confronted with challenging circumstances in the management of employees. In September 2012, the Level 3 Healthy Workplace Award was received from Excellence Canada. We're the only board in Canada to receive this award. The focus was on implementation, and the auditors noted an embedded culture of wellness that goes far beyond programs with a goal to build a kind and generous work environment. And programs were recognized as not just one-time events, but help make concrete progress to ensuring sustained success. UCARIS is an automated absence reporting and replacement system that's in its 2nd year of implementation. After notification to their supervisor, employees enter their absence by telephone or computer. The absences are then verified by the managers. This reduces workload at the school site as office staff are no longer required to secure replacements, with, of course, the exception of unique situations. As Superintendent Gales mentioned, there's a phase-in in a joint project between HR and payroll regarding electronic timesheets beginning May 31st of this year with our elementary occasional teachers. The school office model, we have restructured the roles in school offices to address operational efficiencies, customer service, and accountabilities. A key deliverable this year is the coordination of training for new and experienced office staff. The project will conclude once new job descriptions for office administrators and office assistants are developed. This is mostly as a result of the implementation of the financial assistant role, which has essentially changed much of the work of the office administrators and assistants, and that coupled with our focus on communication and social media requires an update to our job descriptions. Leadership, the non-union appraisal project, just want to speak about that for a minute. A significant factor in employee engagement is feedback and appraisal. The new appraisal tool for our non-union group is aligned with the goals of the Upper Canada Board, the Ministry of Education Leadership Framework, and is based on specific job competencies. Through this project, we have acquired useful employment assessment tools and have supported individuals and teams in professional learning related to management and leadership. Collective agreement implementation. The implementation of Bill 115 and related regulations amendments is ongoing. It's been a very challenging year. While negotiations last fall were limited, there has been substantial increase in workload for HR and finance and others as we develop procedures that align with Bill 115, their regulations and subsequent amendments. These changes impact retirement gratuity, grid increase, voluntary unpaid leave days, maternity benefits, and hiring practices. And finally, strategic recruitment. The selection of new staff is one of the most important decisions that supervisors make. As the current recruitment strategy was developed some 10 years ago, there was a need to revitalize or modify the strategy in order to meet current needs. This project team is led by Principal Anne-Marie Bulbeck and includes principals, hiring managers, and HR staff. With the emphasis on principal as instructional leader, we continue to seek strategies that alleviate the management load at the school level. Our customers want information and services delivered through a variety of channels. In addition to self-serve and our HR portal, we are now pushing information out through social media, utilizing LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for recruitment purposes. We have also taken advantage of LINK to communicate with our principals on a regular basis. Consistent feedback through our satisfaction surveys indicate that our employees appreciate and often require a human connection with department staff. Key strategies for continuous improvement. HR will continue its implementation of a service delivery model that balances transactions, program design and implementation, and strategic advice. In the past, the work has been very much focused on transactions. We have worked hard to shift the balance, incorporating a disciplined strategy to manage projects and work in the department. CIO Jeremy Hobbs introduced the department to a disciplined approach to managing work, and we have attempted to practice this discipline with good results. Choosing the right work, training for the work, and monitoring the work are strategies that enable us to deliver. There have been a number of staff changes in the department over the past few years. These changes provide opportunities to grow staff skill sets from within, including leadership opportunities, cross-training within and beyond the department, specialization, and simply an appreciation and understanding of the work of others. We have found that fresh eyes often bring immediate improvements to a process. We will continue to seek opportunities for automated solutions. It is at the basic level of inquiries and transactions that automation can most easily occur. We have had good success, but there is more work to be done. Self-serve, HR portal, UCARIS, and the offense declaration process are just a few examples of our achievements in this regard. Each of these require an integrated strategy with IT and other departments. Resource efficiencies derived from these solutions, whether they be time or financial, are reinvested in new initiatives. For example, UCARIS, our automated attendance reporting and replacement system, serves every employee in the board at a fraction of the cost of our previous replacement system that served only one employee group. We continue to make a visible connection in the field. While we are located at head office, our HR staff provide direct support to managers, principals, and employees throughout the board. Rather than requiring that folks come to us, our strategy has been to go to the field whenever the opportunity presents. This is particularly the case for our HR partners and those who work in the Centers of Excellence. Of course, a number of staff also participate in Traveling Tuesdays, Champions for Kids, and other initiatives that bring us closer to the people who we serve and most importantly, connects us with students. Now, if you'll note the slide on the screen, it's, even though the numbers are smaller, the font is about the same size as Superintendent Gale's, but just like to point out that we basically, our salaries and benefits, we support 19 staff in our department. We're all centrally located, and that staffing allocation has remained consistent over the last number of years. We too have recurring commitments, not perhaps to the same extent as some of the other departments, but we have basically licenses and maintenance fees that we have to pay. We also have obligations regarding professional fees, etc. And outside of these recurring commitments, within our operational budget, we, on an annual basis, spend approximately $200,000 on our legal fees to support particularly our labor relations, disability management, and also strategic advice. So upcoming projects for 2013-14, we have begun the process, but it will be in full scale implementation in the fall as we strive to achieve Level 4 Healthy Workplace. The focus for that award, or the criteria, is on sustainability. We have discussed at some length with IT department and business department the concepts of position management, and we are scheduled to develop a standard process to monitor allocations, approvals, and authorities come 13-14. We also plan to establish a learning checklist. Basically, there is opportunity to do this in our PeopleSoft, our HRIS system. And essentially what we want to do is capture employee training and certifications that are championed or led by a number of different departments, and perhaps are captured in various Excel spreadsheets, etc. And we believe it would be important to have a central repository or bank of employee certifications. This is beyond what our Ontario College of Teachers provides. For our teachers, we have HR staff upload the qualifications into PeopleSoft. So these would be things like our BMS training, our first aid, service excellence, some recent accessibility training that we'll be rolling out as well. Park Lane is a disability management software program, and essentially full implementation of the software will allow us to track and monitor various steps in the case management of employees who are ill or who've been injured at the work site. So there's lots of opportunities as it relates to an interface with WSIB and keeping track of some very complex matters that some of our employees face. We started on the process of transitioning from paper to electronic forms. Just due to some personnel changes, that's been put on hold for the time being, but we are in the position now, after some training, to bring that one forward and work on that project in a very robust way next year, so we're looking forward to that. And last but certainly not least, we want to revitalize or enhance our new hire experience, and basically embedding service excellence into the new hire process and ensuring that our new hires have the access to resources and information, and ensuring that they are compliant in the expectations that the Upper Canada Board has for new employees. Another responsibility that we have in the HR department is establishing the school office allocations on an annual basis. So I just wanted to take a moment to speak with you about this. And essentially, I would say it flows out of HR's very close involvement and leadership in the school office model. Superintendent Gales and I co-sponsored the Crew Project school office model, which is coming to conclusion, but not quite there yet. And essentially, as a result of that, school office staff allocations are determined by human resources now, actually under the leadership of our operations manager, Jennifer McDonald. And essentially, the allocation is such that there's a office administrator in every school. There's office assistant determined by school enrollment. It's a definite at 400, and it's a consideration at about 350 ADE. So there's some flexibility there. And financial assistants are allocated to each family of schools. So one of the improvements that we have made over time, and I think we addressed one earlier this evening, which has yet to be made, but one of the goals is to standardize procedures from school to school. Certainly in the world of the financial assistant, much of that has happened, but there are other opportunities in other school office functions that can be addressed as well. We've recently tapped Cindy Peters on the shoulder as it relates to the coordination of training for both experienced and new to the role office administrators and assistants, and this is very helpful as it relates to ensuring that our school office staff are equipped to do the job that we would like them to do. So this slide is a pretty basic slide. Essentially, we've got 85 office administrators, 1 in each school. We have 55.25 office assistants and 23 financial assistants serving all of the schools in Upper Canada. This is exclusive of TR Leger. And of course, the line on the budget line is just reflective of the salaries and the benefits to support this group. So that concludes my presentation, and I would be glad to answer any questions that you may have. And I'd also like to just take a moment to apologize for wiggling my cursor around. Somebody should have given me a little signal, but they didn't.
Just two of us.
Yes. It was my strategy to keep people awake.
Work.
Trustees? Trustee McPherson?
Just a question as to salaries and benefits. In your second last slide, you show a flatline budget. And yet, if you go back a couple more slides, you're showing an increase of $70,000 for salaries and benefits for the Human Resources Department. Is this proper? I'm reaching for words here. I'm just, okay, can you explain the discrepancy through the chair?
Yes, I believe I can. I think, again, the final slide that describes the salaries and benefits for the office staff is definitely a forecast. We have not done the allocation yet, so we don't know what it will be for next year. It is a forecast. I understand the $70,000 increase on the HR slide is the result of grid movement halfway through the year, which would kick in. Actually, it's not halfway through the year. It's 97 days after grid movement would normally occur for the non-union group. So come September, I believe it's September, some non-union staff will experience a grid movement if they earn less than a certain amount of money, and that is their annual salary has to be less than $100,000. So I think that explains the $70,000 increase in the HR budget itself under salaries and benefits.
Trustee Karkner?
Through you, Chair. I'd like to ask the question, or just make a comment about the coordination of training for experienced and new to the role. I'm pleased to see that that is still happening. Is there any funding coming for that, or is it monies that you have budgeted yourself? And it's new to the role for all employee groups?
No, this is specific to office administration. As trustee, through you, Chair, as Trustee Karkner is aware, we no longer have a formal mentoring program for office staff. That being said, there is a culture of support in our schools as it relates to one office administrator assisting another office administrator in a different school. The challenge there is that that office administrator, very sincere in her assistance, may be showing someone the way they do something rather than the recognized or appropriate way to do it. So it doesn't help us in standardizing procedures. And so what we're doing now is we are identifying when we have someone who is new to the role or when someone changes jobs. There's a process that kicks in, and then Cindy is able to coordinate the training, because often the training for office administrators comes from a variety of different departments. It could be IT, it could be finance, it could be HR, et cetera. And so the coordination of that is very important. And so the goal is to establish, if you will, a suite or a checklist, a suite of training requirements that certainly new people should be partaking in, and those folks who are changing roles or changing schools should also make sure that they have access to as well.
Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. Just a question, I guess, on clarification first. Slide, I think it's slide 6, budget 2013-14 human resources.
Mm-hmm.
That is your department, as I understand it. Is that correct? HR department?
Yes.
Then if we move into the next slide, 2013-14 projects, these are the projects under your department?
That's correct.
The next slide then is, sorry, not the next slide.
That's when things change, and you'll note it's school office administration. And
That comes out of your budget?
no, it does not. That's a separate line that essentially we have agreed that HR will take responsibility for the allocation, but that line does not sit in I don't have a budget sheet that represents those salaries and benefits.
Okay.
But the cost of the allocation is that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering why it was here then, if somebody has to do it, I guess. I was wondering why it's under HR then. Is it typically out of HR on a regular basis?
I beg your pardon?
Is it normally reported out of HR?
No, to my knowledge, this is the first year we've done this, but as you have said, through you, Chair, this is not part of HR budget, either salaries or benefits or operation. It's a separate line.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yep, go ahead.
My questions then are around the 2013-14 projects. If I look at the projects, we anticipate 6 projects, only 2 of them will be at 50% completion by the end of next year. And of that, I guess I'm anticipating, or I'm guessing, that the expenses for those would come out of your operations and your recurring commitments allocations.
That's correct.
So of that, what is, if I were just to take Excellence Canada Level 4, what would be the estimated cost to be able to get to Level 4 in 2013-14?
Through you, Chair, the most significant cost would be resourcing, the people resourcing of the project. So we have Penny Raby would take the lead on that, and she is our she wears many hats, but she does take charge of the wellness project under Linda Billings' leadership. She also does a number of other HR functions in our centers of excellence. We bring our wellness steering committee, who basically drives the application for level 4, is comprised of people from across the board. So in order to facilitate meetings, et cetera, there are nominal expenses that support that. There is a small registration fee, if you will, to embark on the level 4 healthy workplace process, but it's a minimal. I would say, if I look at all of the projects on this list, much of it comes out of, perhaps it's the same in any department, but most of it is salaries. Salaries.
Oh, salaries.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
So essentially, we have a $3 million budget
Mm-hmm.
for the department. 2/3 of it is salaries and benefits. 1/3 is operations side of things, commitments. so of the projects that we have here, if a majority of that is operational, can you pinpoint to me where the operational side, sorry, if a majority of that is salaries and benefits, can you pinpoint me to the areas that would accumulate or, I guess, account for the $1 million from an operation standpoint?
Sure. Let me just go back to that
And it
slide.
may not
if
be
I-
$1 million, it may be a portion of that, I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, okay. So if we take a look at this slide, for instance, $300,000 in 12-13 came from the job action money. So you'll note that in 13-14, we've not, at this point in time, allocated $300,000 to that, to the budget. So there's $300,000 that existed, and it's basically a wash, money in and money out. Our operations budget, current annual budget of $941,000. We have recurring commitments of approximately 118. Thus far, we anticipate about 130. Our operations budgets pay for our legal fees, which, as I mentioned earlier, were approximately $240,000. They pay for travel and expense. They pay for furniture and equipment. They pay for computer licensing, not licensing, but telephone, computer, monthly charges, etc.
Yep, go ahead.
We have an expense as of April 6th, so we're off by a couple of weeks, so we're at $2 million with a budget of $3 million. Do we anticipate between salaries and operations that we'll have $1 million expended by the end of this, over the next quarter, I guess?
It has been our experience over the last couple of years to not to expend our entire budget. There's usually a little bit of money left in our budget at the end of August. But certainly at this time of year, one of the most costly items would be travel and expense. And I'm thinking of folks, particularly from the Centers of Excellence, those folks who are out doing investigations, people who are like Terry McPherson and Rob Bowman, who are supporting employees in the field. They incur certainly a lot of travel and expense because they, quite frankly, travel around the board on a daily basis, or certainly a weekly basis for the labor folks.
Trustees, I want to interject at this point, and as we started off, we're trying to figure out the best way, and I'm a little concerned that I think I have not got this right, and I really don't know that we're getting where we want to get with these presentations, and that's my fault. Through Management Council we've been working with, but I'm not comfortable with what we've got. I think we're missing some of the pieces that I initially had set out, that you guys had indicated to me that we were looking for. And rather than, hearing another presentation of 30-odd minutes, and I think it's a good start, I just think that there's some pieces missing. And I'd like, with your approval, just to reflect on it. We have Management Council tomorrow, and talk to David and Rick, and just make sure that this is right, because this was an experiment. We don't need to, this is not a failure, this is just, I'm not sure that we've got it absolutely right, and this is important for us to do, and if we you know, this is the beginning, and I'd rather get it correct now than wait and say at the end to administration, you know what, this doesn't get to where we wanted it to go to, and then at that point. So that's my concern. Any comment on that, Trustee McCray?
Yeah, through you, Chair. What is it exactly that we're not getting to?
I think
because
that
actually I like this format. I think this format is very good. The only downside of this format, because we are drilling deep here, I feel, is that it's taking more time.
Yeah.
What is it you're feeling that the trustees, like our staff have went to a lot of work to basically take a big pie and divide it into all these sections of our board.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at human resources, we're going to look at facilities, which will also include capital. I like this format too. To me, it makes a lot more sense because it's based on projects.
Yeah.
So what is it we're missing?
The initial and you know what? I understand that this is odd, okay?
Okay.
And for me to
We
do this.
understand it's odd too. We've never done it before either. Charlotte's
And
done
you know
nothing
what?
wrong, and nor is Rick. This is swimming in a different direction. This is,
Yeah,
you know.
but
I am, right now I'm struggling to pinpoint exactly, I have and I don't know what I want at this point, if you would indulge me,
okay.
to give me an opportunity to go into management council tomorrow and then just have a look back and think of where we are. Maybe this is right. Maybe I've got it wrong. But I don't want to put another superintendent through another presentation if we don't have it right. And to me, there are some questions here. Initially, we have achievements, but I was looking for risks, barriers. What did we not work on? There is data being talked about, but it's not being presented. Like, there's not data in line.
Mm-hmm.
There also, the costing for the project's not in line, and in my head, I thought that was going to be included. Essentially, for us, what we talked about at Management Council was ensuring that when we added up all the reports, that we could say we had a really good idea where all the money is going and coming from. And maybe it's just the way it's presented. This is not, believe me, this is not the fault of administration, okay? This is my fault because I have been a key part to this, and this was brought before me, and so I'm telling you that I'm just not comfortable with it. It's just not hitting with what I wanted. So I'm asking for your indulgence to say, you know what, it is 10 o'clock. I think we've had a good sense of this. Reflect on it, give me some feedback, but I'd just like to have some time to think about it. Now, David, do you want to say something?
No, you handled it, that's good.
I don't know. I know this is not normal, but I've also been in situations, you know what? Sometimes it's just better to pull back and just think about it before we go ahead and commit ourselves, because we really are, if we go through with this, then we're really committing ourselves to that this is what we're going to get. And I don't want us to end up at the end and not have what we started out thinking we were going to get. And I'm quite willing to have people tell me that I'm completely out in left field, but I'm just asking for you to, you know, for the sake of one day and one presentation, to just give me some latitude. Trustee McPherson?
This is different than we've ever done it before. To borrow Trustee McCray's analogy, it's fine to look at the pieces, but I personally would like to see what the pie looks like. We always were given a bit of a forerunner on what the GSNs were going to generate. Give us as you say, an idea as of what challenges we're going to be facing, the high points. And so that's just an idea, not being critical.
And the reason that we went down the road that we're going down is that we really don't have a firm grasp of the GSNs. Like, when are we going to really know that, Rick?
We have the forms now. We're working on them. We have a first cut at the revenue. And we're going to be working on putting that information in the technical paper as we talked about in the report, and we'll be getting that out. We're going ahead with the plan that we submitted, and until it's changed, that's the direction we're going.
So the reason that we don't have the Trustee McPherson, the typical, where we would go through and this is how much money we got and this is where it's all going, is that in order to have the time to do this portion of it, we needed to start before we had the complete budget.
I have no issue with this process. I think it's nice to see everyone coming forward and explaining. It not only gives us the financial, it gives us their goals and lets us know some of the things that they've been doing.
Well, perhaps, guys, I don't have the right end of this. I'm sorry, and I'm a little reluctant to mount a description of it because I'm not sure that I can articulate in any meaningful way at this point what it is that's not sitting well. So I'm sorry.
I don't think a day is going to make. Excuse me, through you, Chair. I don't think. I'm not sure what it is exactly you're trying to achieve, but certainly, take the time to work with the Management Council and decide what exactly it is you want to achieve, and then we'll move forward with it.
John?
I'm good with that.
Peter?
That's good.
Thank you. All right. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry, you guys, and believe me, like this is my poor communication. So, all right. So thank you, Charlotte, for your presentation. And what I'd like to do at this point now is ask for a motion to extend, and so that we can deal with school year calendar, and then going back into board, the private session. Can our report from Spec Ed, can it be delayed to the next meeting? Is there anything pressing in that?
No.
Same with Trustee McDonald?
Meetings this weekend.
Okay. So I would think 30 minutes ought to give us enough time, probably more than enough. Gotta get a motion to extend to 22. Trustee Karkner, seconded by Trustee McAllister. Okay, so inside committee as a whole, Superintendent Coombs, you want to just give a quick update on our request for a draft multi-year calendar?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. What you have before you is a 2014, 2015, and 2015, 2016 draft calendars. The Ministry of Education does provide March break and Christmas holidays, as well as statutory holidays. However, the exact start of the school year and end of the school year, we're unable to ascertain at this time, as we have to coordinate with our coterminous board. Also, the number and the placement of PA days would be variable as well, depending upon what happens in the next round of negotiations and where the ministry cares to go with that. However, I can tell you that in 2016, on the 15th of February, there will be Family Day. And so if that is certainly helpful, we can provide this calendar so people can plan accordingly. I would like to make one quick comment. As we go forward, the consortium, the School Transportation Consortium will become more and more coordinated in that the bus routes between our Catholic coterminous board and us will be more aligned, and it will become even more important to ensure that we are together in our calendars.
Okay, Trustee McDonald, is this what you were thinking?
It is. It's just there's one thing I think that's missing. I mean, we label what PE days are. I know we can't put it in the sand and say this is when it's going to be for sure, but there's an anticipated or an expected time that we're going to have PA days. It may change through legislation. It may whatever. I mean, but if we were to do things today, we would say that a PA day is going to occur this time, and this time, based on the current information that we have. my thought is that a multi-year calendar is a living document. It's gonna change daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, until it becomes approved by us and the ministry. So why not put as much information as we think we have, including PA, so that parents have an opportunity to look at that? If I think I'm gonna have a PA day in May around the holiday weekend, what we have here, I think, is a start, but I don't know why we would not want to put PA days on there now.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we certainly can put 6 PA days as placeholders. Just so you know, when I presented our next year's school year calendar at our last meeting, I believe we were aligned with our coterminous board. The very next day, I got a call from a superintendent in the Catholic board saying they were moving one of their PA days. Now, that will cost a very minimal amount next year as far as transportation goes, but as we go forward, not being aligned with those PA days will be more costly from a transportation standpoint. Having said that, certainly we can put, for example, next year, 6 PA days where we think they're going to be, and we can choose 6 PA days as long as we very carefully, I would say, suggest that we label them as tentative.
The whole calendar is labeled as draft, though, so I mean, tentative is kind of a...
Very true, yeah. I can tell you when Christmas is going to be, that's pretty much...
Okay, Trustee Garrow?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I guess Superintendent Coombs, does the Catholic School Board, do they also do multi-year?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Could you share that with them? Through you, Chair.
Go ahead.
Share that with them?
Certainly, yes, I can, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Maybe it'll create too much confusion, and then we'll have to change our mind. But maybe this will help. So everybody okay with that on the board? Nothing we're missing obvious here. I think it's going to be
the tentative. I mean, we'll put PA days in, and we know perfectly well the government's going to get some money. They may pull us out and send you. There'll be non-days. But what David's saying is that you know, if it's tentative, put them in there where we think they're going to be in, and that's when you start planning.
So, and I think the other piece that we should put a little thought into, maybe with Terry Simser and his team, is we want this in electronic version, right? We don't really want it paper.
No, yeah.
It should be electronic, and make sure that however it's characterized electronically, that it's very clear that this is draft and will be changed, and how to get the final copy, where to go to get the final copy when it's available. Let's try it, see. Okay. All right, thank you, Superintendent Coombs. All right, I need a motion to move back into the regular board meeting, moved by Trustee McMillan, seconded by Trustee Garrow. Okay, that passes. Thanks, everybody. All right, so what I'm proposing now that we do is
due to inactivity in your conference, this call will be terminated unless you press the digit 1 on your telephone. Once
was that no one was connected? Was that but that no one was connected? Okay. All right, let's deal with the report from private session, Committee of the Whole, April 10th. We have a number of recommendations. I'll do the report from private session from April 10th, 2013. 2 property matters and 1 contractual matter were discussed. And the following recommendations are being brought forward. A motion to decline any interest in L'École Elementary Catholic Saint Gabriel. I have a motion, mover and a seconder, please. Trustee McMillan, Trustee McPherson. Okay, Jeffrey, you're in favor. Look odd if I reached over and did it for you. All right, that carries unanimously. Move on to the next motion. Is there a reason why I can't do this together, Trustee Superintendent Gales?
No, they can all be done at once.
Pardon me? It can be done at once? All right, moved by Trustee McAllister, seconded by Trustee McPherson, that the Upper Canada District School Board declared 22 acres of land south side of Montague Public School property surplus to its needs, identified in the attached reference plan as Part 1 to Plan 27R2931, and that the Upper Canada District School Board approved the sale of the 22 acres of land on the south side of Montague property as described to the Township of Montague for the amount of $44,000. Cast your ballot. You can fix it.
That's right, you got a conflict of interest.
Not responding.
It's not responding. You're in favor?
Yeah, I'm in favor. Thank you. And we have one last one, right? This is from the public session, and we have one motion arising from the public session, and that is that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the 2013-14 regular school calendar year for submission to the ministry. We have a mover and a seconder. Trustee Richards, Trustee Garrow.
In favor.
Okay, Director, is there anything that... The only thing I think in passing that I would mention from the labor update is that we have received a letter indicating that FO is going to pursue its option to have hearings on the Constitution issue.
They may want 2 weeks still.
Yeah,
They
there's
may want us to extend that by 2 weeks. They may not do it. Will we extend it? We said no. You decide what you're going to do.
So anyway, they've indicated that they're going to go ahead. This is a note. So that means that there will be additional hearings.
Without us.
No, we have to be there. We'll have to, our lawyers will have to be there.
Why do we have to be there?
Charlotte, maybe you can help me out on this.
I don't know the answer definitively, but we'll wait, first of all, to see if they actually go through with their...
Well, the letter that came out referenced the fact that they would talk to Mr. Hines about setting dates.
Yes.
Well, when I look at the recommendations of the chair, Fishbein, he left that option open for both parties. If we are declining interest, that doesn't mean that they cannot pursue it. Why do we have to be involved? In fact, why do we not direct our legal firm not to be involved, because this is going to cost us even more money?
I personally, where I've said that this is Ofspa's battle now, they should take it on. We've got it out of that with what we wanted. The province got what it needed, and if it needs to be defended at another level, it should be Ops. But in fact, I think it's pretty scary that the government's been so quiet.
But I think, guys, I mean, if we don't defend, if we aren't represented, then he rules that without the benefit of our legal counsel's arguments that there is a constitutional issue here, he could overturn decision. I mean, that's the end game here, right? So I don't know how we don't be represented, honestly.
I think we have to go to our legal about this one. I mean, he called a duck a duck. And, and it's been.
All right, well, we don't have a lot of time on this, right? And I'm telling you that my feeling is that we need to have a lawyer there, but Superintendent Patterson, do you want to add something?
Is there any indication from other boards that they're prepared to come forward with support financially?
Yes, we have. We have.
And how long a process are we looking at in this second stage, so to speak? Like, could they essentially lawyer us to death?
They certainly have a huge war to go from. I think we have to do is answer the question whether we really have to be there. And that's the first question. I think that we'll get an answer to that, to all of you tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Oh, not yet.
Oh, sorry.
Folks, just bear with me for a second. I would like you to consider a motion for something really, really neat and something that is, this is going to be May, is going to be sort of a national wellness, national be physical month. I wonder if you could make a motion that says that we're going to support general physical health and wellness for the month of May. And so we just kick off, we support this campaign. That May is really a month of get out there and exercise and do those things. Charlotte, do you want to comment?
Well, we are.
I'm on my own.
We are advocating, or we're promoting an initiative that's across Canada, and it's called Every Day in May. And this is encouraging folks to be physically fit, to be mindful of their nutrition, and to care for each other. And it's certainly appropriate for all of our employees, and of course all of our students as well. So I know that there's the wellness initiative and also the quality daily physical literacy and nutrition that is also promoting this initiative as well.
Trustees? David?
I have no problem, but I think we should do it at the next meeting. I don't know when we have the opportunity to do
When the next meeting is?
That's in May.
I have a little motion here, if it helps.
Go ahead, Trustee McAllister.
I want to follow process, guys. If it should have been part of the agenda from the beginning, it's not. You guys can do it. I have no problem with that, but if we talk about process and holding people accountable, make sure we mitigate risk, we got to do it to ourselves too.
Yeah, I totally respect what David has said. This is about just telling people that we are totally committed to the wellness thing. It came to me yesterday to do this, so I apologize.
So does it absolutely need a motion, or can't you and
If
I
you guys
sign a
all
letter?
say, if you guys all put your hand up and say, wow, let's go for it, doesn't need a motion, we'll write a letter out. They say the board endorses this event and.
Certainly endorse it. You're cutting grass, you're helping with the garden.
Exactly.
We absolutely endorse it.
Yeah.
We endorse it.
We do. And I would be happy to send a letter
There
with
we
your
go.
signature to everybody saying, get out there and don't follow the chair's model. I won't
Or
speak
the
for you.
director's model, but we're committed to May.
Through you, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Swan.
I'm just wondering, do we have a trustee ball team together for the tournament at the end of the month of May?
No.
Is anyone willing to take the challenge? I'm game.
This is the home run derby.
Any trustee wanting to, contact Lisa and set up a team.
Wear your sweaters.
Yes. Okay? All right, thanks, Lisa.